Okay. And you see already number 1 of section 4 in practice test number 1 is a chart. But I also want to show you, this is practice test number 8, my friends. Look at number 2. Look at this test, look at this test. You see that they start off very similar. So you're likely to see something very much like this at the beginning of your exam. This is just a rubric that they follow, a structure. Okay, you can see very similar. This question 1 is very similar to this question 2. Okay, so how about you guys take a moment to look at this one, number 1. What do you guys think of number 1? It asks, during which interval is the heart rate strictly increasing and then strictly decreasing? When does it go straight up and when does it go straight down? So what do you guys think for number 1? Number 1. All right, so several of you already have thrown out B. And so here you see it is going straight up and straight down. This goes up and flat. This goes up and flat, up and flat. So there's no other increase that's met with a decrease. So excellent, excellent. And that earned you 10 points, my friend. You're on your way. We do not have to go far, but I do need to shrink the page a little bit. So here you have number 5, which just asks you to identify which chart demonstrates a strong negative association between these two factors, D and T. So which one shows a strong negative association between D and T? All right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. I got D's all across. And yes, that is the one. This one is going up. This one is flat. And this one is pretty ambiguous. And this one is the only one real nice and tight going down. Excellent, excellent. 20 points for you. We don't have to go far. Look at number 7. What do you guys think about number 7? Here you have, this is 5 cities, and this is the number of rooftop installations. What they're asking you to decide is, what is the scale of these 9? Is it 90? Is it 900, 9,000, or 90,000? What is the scale if all 5 cities together had a number of installations that equaled 27,500? So is this 90, 900, 9,000, or 90,000? Which one is it? Ooh, Mignon and Jalen coming quick. Sanaya, just after that. Luis, thank you. Diana, excellent. Yes, the only way you could add up these 5 totals and have it be 27,500 is if these were all in the thousands. The tens aren't going to cut it. The hundreds aren't going to cut it. And tens of thousands would be way too large. Love it. Ooh. Now, 12, I would like to just point out, it is exactly the same as our watermelon example. So if you add up these these apple seeds, it would be 73, just like it was for us, because we did this one already. So this one is C6, but I want to show you, you did this already. We took it exactly from the test. We just changed it from watermelons to from apples to watermelons. Number 13 is exactly the question we did. So remember that 19% of all survey respondents, this case, I think it's males taking geometry. Ours was science courses. This is math courses. Same thing. We already did this one as well. But I want to point out to you guys number 14. Let's take a look at 14. Maybe make this a little smaller, not so large. Okay, not that tiny. All right, let's take a look at this one. Here we have length for 21 fish. All right. So here you have, again, here it's going to ask you to compare which one of these is going to be most affected if you take out this 24. So if you remove the 24, is it going to affect mean, median, or range the most, or will they all be the same amount? So I wanted to show you one. We won't do it right now, but I want to show you, the fact that this is something that they ask you to compare. And how about this one? I want you guys to take a look at 15 and 16. 15 and 16. 15 asks you about the y-intercept, and 16 asks you to get the equation for the line. So what do you guys think for 15? What does the c-intercept represent? This 5 right here, what does it represent? We have a toss-up between A and D. So is it the initial cost of renting the boat or the increase in cost to rent the boat for each additional hour? Because it's starting at 5, we're going to say it is A, the initial cost. So beautiful, beautiful. It is A. 15 is A, the initial cost, right? It starts at 5 and it goes up from there, right? $5 plus whatever it is per hour. All right. So then which would be the appropriate relationship for this line? Which is the y equals mx plus b for this? Brianna was first with it. C. Now you see D and A are not in the right format because we knew that the y-intercept was 5. So only B or C could be it. And in this case, was the slope 3 or 3/4? It's 3. So very nice. This one is a great one to finish out on. You see a chart and here they ask you about probability. So they want to know, because they asked people, 100 people, and then there were the 2 groups were people that went to bed early or late. That's what group X and Y are. So they want to know if a person is chosen at random from those who could remember at least one dream, because they looked at the number of dreams they recalled. So from those at random, from anybody who recalled at least one dream, what is the probability that that person belonged to group Y? So what do you guys think of this one as we close out? There's 2 things. One is group Y, but the other consideration is the number of people who had more than one dream. So who does that encompass? The people who had more than one dream were people in this group, right? They either had 1 to 4 dreams or 5 or more, but all of these people had more than one dream. So of all those people, what is the probability that they belong to group Y? So what do you guys think? So the number of people in group Y and those is 79, as Mignon said. And then the number of people total is this 125 plus 39, which gives you C, because it's not 79 over 100, it's 79 over 164. So again, these two added over those two added together. So this one is C, C. And my friends, our first little portion is done. We are ready to move on into our areas. And what we're going to do is we're going to split you into 3 groups. Oh, Sanaya, your picture's so cute. Yay, love to see faces. Ashlyn, thank you for your little hearts and butterflies. We'll take those too. But yes, you're going to go into 3 different groups, and then you'll be able to talk more closely and do some more practicing. And again, ask questions that you would want to ask. Okie dokie. And again, Ryan and Julie, if they want to know, want to hear about any of the others, like you want to spend a little time on PETA or something like that, since we didn't get to, then it depends on what the group wants, for sure. All right. So you tell me, my directors, when we're moving.
I am putting you all in rooms now, Miss Vanessa, and trying to get this all together as quickly as I can.
Ooh, Mr. Casey, look official. He's in the office.
That's right. Excellent job, Miss Vanessa.
Oh, well, you guys, the students are excellent on it. Everybody's on it.
Absolutely.
Ooh, thank you, Troy. We'll take your ceiling. And Derek, what's up? I don't remember your name. How's it going, Derek? I know a couple of you joined. Giuseppe Benedetti. Buonasera, buonasera. Krista, welcome. Again, I know there's a couple people that might have come on while there was a few dings I didn't get to mention.
All right.
All right, here we go. See you in room 2.
Miss Naomi, I didn't assign you into a room.
I'll just stay here. I'll be leaving in a bit.
Okay.
Thanks. I saw 40 people total. I'm surprised there's so little in this room right now.
Yeah, they've all been assigned, so.
Now, see, I thought that Mr. Casey was going to be in this room with a group of students. He's in a breakout room.
He is.
He should be left here so that this appears
Let
on
me,
YouTube. So that one, you should close that and bring him back here.
okay, let me close. Ay. I'm sending them a message because I don't have the capability to close out that specific room. I'm going to actually join that room and ask them if they could come out.
Was that for us?
Thank you, Mr. Casey. I'm sorry, I made a mistake.
Yeah. So you want us from break room number 1 to come out?
Yeah, so the recording could capture what you're reviewing with them.
Oh, so
You're
they're
live
still
on
there.
YouTube right now, Mr. Casey, but they can't see you in the breakout room.
Oh, but they're there though. They're not. They didn't leave. The actual student.
So yeah, tell the students to click on leave breakout room. Is that you, Miss Angelique? Angelique. She probably stepped away.
Miss Angelique was on before I was.
She's awesome, very engaging.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. I
Where I
apologize.
feel all the pressure, no problem at all. Thank you for no heads up. I will be on YouTube live teaching some math with no type of preparation. So let's get this going. Superstars, I need your assistance now. I want to figure out what questions can we look at together to where we can break down with a little bit more thorough investigation.
We just start at number 1.
Now, I can start at number 1. That's fine for me. Appreciate you, my boy Coffee, speaking up. Number 1, I'm going to try to zoom in to make this more appropriate for our eyes. It tells us that if x minus 1 over 3 is equal to k, and k is equal to 3, what is the value of x? So let's try to zoom in, break this down. Superstars, I'd love to hear from you all. Anyone have any thoughts as to what we would do to solve this question?
Could we start by plugging in 3 into k?
Absolutely. The first and foremost step, as you heard my gentleman just say, is let's go ahead and substitute the variable. The first step would be to substitute the given information. They gave us the value that k is equal to 3. Let me circle that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of like rewrite the question as x minus 1 over 3 is equal to k. But instead of me writing the variable k, I can write what k is equal, which is equal to the value of 3. Perfect job, excellent as well. Now, anyone know what we would do from there? How would I solve for x?
You can multiply because it's a
Absolutely, I
fraction.
will multiply by what number?
3 by 3
Absolutely. Now, why am I multiplying times 3?
because it's a fraction and it's the denominator.
Absolutely. The denominator is 3. We want to remove that. We want to change this as to where the denominator is not 3. So I'm going to multiply the entire equation. Typically, I do 2 separate parentheses to indicate that I'm multiplying times 3. And as my gentleman mentioned, because the denominator is 3 down here. So we want to remove that. So we're going to multiply by that number on both sides. Let's go ahead and show that step. 3 times 3, if I do the right side of the equal sign first, we'll get the value of 9. Over here for the left side, the 3's essentially would cancel themselves out. So I can do something like this to leave us with the expression of x minus 1. So now I have the expression of x minus 1 is equal to 9. Simple one-step equation. What's our final step, gentlemen or ladies? What's our final step to solve this one-step equation?
Add 1.
Just add 1. We have right here, it says x minus 1 equals 9. To solve a one-step equation, you do the inverse of minus 1. So we're adding 1. Thank you for that input. I'm glad I said my ladies as well. So we're just adding 1 to both sides of the equation. The left side, the ones would cancel themselves out, leaving the value of x by itself. To the right side, we have 9 plus 1, which gives us 10. Are we satisfied with the solution? The answer is yes. SAT-wise, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this because you're dealing with a time constraint. So once you get your solution, plug it in and keep going, and please take your time. Those of us that want to make sure this is the answer, what can we do?
Get in. Get
Say
back
it again,
in.
please.
Plug it back in.
Absolutely, just plug it back in. If I also look at the solution as being 10, if I plug in for X, the answer we have, which is 10, 10 take away 1 would give us 9. 9 divided by 3 would equal 3, just like the original equation says, K equals 3. Any questions at all, anyone? I'll take that as a maybe. Nope. Somebody wrote nope. I appreciate that. Oh, and if you're writing in the chat, I'm not looking at the chat, so you got to talk to me. Now, if those of us who want to make sure, I would recommend at this point to take a quick screenshot, because I'm going to clear my screen and move on to the next question. So if you guys would like to take a picture of this screenshot now, you can, and then we'll clear it off to keep going. All right, hope that was enough time to go that. Now we have more particular questions. Anyone else? That was number 1 that we looked up so far.
Number 7 looks really intimidating.
Number 7 looks intimidating, so let's get intimidated with number 7. Oh my gosh, why would you put number 7? Oh my head is starting to hurt by looking at this complicated equation. Now, remember what the Study Smart Tutors advise us, right? We will find ourselves doing like a do now and do later, or the hard. This particular questions, if I do not have a math background, I would typically mark it as like a hard, quote unquote, type of question, where I want to move on to other question I can do because of a time restraint. However, we're going to do this question today. Now, number 7 asks us, M is equal to R over 1,200 times 1 plus R over 1,200 to the power of N divided by 1 plus R over 1,200 raised to the power of N minus 1. At least that's the equation they gave us. Let's see what that formula is. Oh, the formula above, it gives the monthly payment, M, needed to pay off a loan of P dollars at R% annual interest over N months. Which of the following give P in terms of M, R, and N? Now, the first thing you said to yourself is, what? Who said that to yourself when you saw this question? I'm just by myself? No one else said like, huh? Okay, somebody snickered, so I'm gonna definitely say you did, whoever you are that snickered one time. Now, I like always to hear from my superstars. Anyone have any clues for things of how to solve a complicated question like this as I doodle some things on the side? Not yet? All right, well, let me ask this question, and maybe, just maybe, you can help me based upon the question I'm gonna ask us, right? Let's say we had a question such as, M is equal to 3, I'm gonna give a variable. So let me say 3 over Y, and let's put the variable P like they gave us. Random question, right? But it's for sure going to be related to how we're going to work on this question over here. For this that I wrote, can someone help me solve for the letter P? And I'll give you a baby hint, which is not a baby hint. We're going to do very, very similar to what we did on question number 1 regarding your first step. So notice how this question right now is basically solved for M. M is equal to this, 3 over Y times P. My question to my superstars out there, which is all of you all, how can I solve this question? What would be my first step?
You're looking for P?
To solve for P, yes, ma'am.
Since it's multiplied by 3 over Y, you divide 3 over Y by both sides.
I like what you said. And because you said it that way, I'm going to write it what you said, because I love to make sure that the math itself stays consistent. It's a lot of students have multiple different ways of doing this. Let's do what you mentioned. Divide both sides, because that's the inverse of multiplying. It tells us 3 over Y times P. So the opposite is divide by 3 over Y. Now I'm going to divide both of these sides by 3 over Y. And let's remember something when it comes to dividing a fraction. This is currently written out as 3 over Y divided by 3 over Y. Do you agree with that, Jeanette?
Yeah.
Now, do you remember how to divide a fraction, or the rules as far as dividing a fraction?
The second one, you get its reciprocal, or basically you flip it.
So you saying think of fried chicken?
No, I said the second one you flip it or you get its reciprocal. Wait, what? You get its reciprocal.
Don't be laughing at my words, because you said think of fried chicken. I know you didn't say
I
it. But
did not.
I
Oh.
said that. I did. I'm admitting it. But what you said is 100% correct. It was a mouth language. You do the reciprocal. We change this to something, then the reciprocal of that. 100% correct. I like to give my students something as an easy way to remember it. So I say think of chicken, right? KFC. You kind of got my joke there. Where we're going to keep it, we're going to flip it, and then we're going to change it. But of course, normally they flip the the F and the C, but I just do it this way as an easy way of remembering it. But you said it, keep it, change it to multiplication, then we're gonna flip the other fraction to y over 3. Are we all in agreement? Yes, because then when I multiply this out, these would cancel out to give me the answer as 1, which was my objective. Do we agree about having to flip this fraction, base having to multiply it?
Yeah.
Maybe.
So that the unit cancel out.
The reason I want to make sure we got that, because the same thing is going to happen on this side. This is m divided by a fraction. So we're having a constant in a way, but it's a variable divided by a fraction. We have to do that same method where we keep the m, but we're having to change or flip this to y over 3. Now, some of my people, let me write that out, right? So then we end up getting y over 3. The variable m is still the same. As we wrote, sorry about that. As we wrote over here, this became 1. That's the proof of that. So now I have that single p by itself. And I can actually write equals p. Some of my students, those of us who may not have done it, here you go. Those of us want to do that quick screenshot. My bad. I don't like to give you guys a moment to clip. Those of us who may have done this question similar to what we did for question number 1, I'm going to try to entertain that thought as well. But Jeanette, thank you for speaking up, because as you saw, we did it that method and it worked. We got that actual solution. We just have to make sure we remember the principles of dividing fractions. In this case, similar to what we did on question number 1, remember how we multiplied first? Like for real?
Yeah.
We did. We multiplied both sides by 3. Look, I got proof. Let me clear my screen one time. Let me go back up here and just remember here. Remember we multiplied times 3, and then after that, we end up having to just add the 1. We are doing the similar step for this particular question too. Too much isn't changing, so try not to get too intimidated, although that question looked like a giant mess. Trust me, this question is super easy, but I want to make sure what I'm saying is making sense first. You know what I mean? You already saw the answer, Jeanette?
Yeah, you just flip it.
So what answer did you get?
Oh, I guess B?
Absolutely. That's the correct answer. Now I have to go on my extra talking just because I like to talk sometimes. Now, for this particular case, we could have did what we did before, where we multiply both sides by the variable y. Of course, y is an unknown number, but we do know that a number divided by itself will become 1. They're canceled out. So now on the right side, we have ym, it looks funny, is equal to 3, and then the letter p, the only parts that are left. And then from there, since we're solving for p, let me make p in a different variable color since we can have that stand out. We divide both of these sides by the coefficient, the number 3. That will cancel ourselves out, giving us p by itself. And that'll be equal to ym over 3. Those other students who saw it that way, that would have most likely been the method I would have chose, or I would have just multiplied by y over 3 on the first part and then had it done that way. But what she said was 100% right. The reason why I wanted to give us this question as for us to remember the method that we took for this question. Now, our complicated question up here, imagine it being in one, in a sense, like kind of like giant parentheses, but I'll use a bracket since I used that. Right? So that's all it's saying. M is equal to all of this stuff times P. That's all this says. In order to get our answer, we'll do that reciprocal, find ourselves flipping it and multiplying it on both sides. very similar to what I suggested my method of doing this question by multiplying both sides by y over 3 the first time. If I would have did that the first time, I would have got this answer off top. However, I took my time, my steps, just so you all can see it. Was my explanation clear, confusing, or talk to me, superstars? How y'all feel?
It's been clear and helpful. Thank you.
Promise, Oswin? You're not just saying that?
No, I promise.
No, okay. I like to make sure. Anyone else? We are looking good to go. Can I clear my screen and move on to the next one? I'll take that as a maybe. So let me go ahead and clear it. In case you need a screenshot, now's your final chance for a screenshot. It's about to be gone. All right, gone. Again, what I recommend if you are intimidated with the math is I recommend you put like maybe a check off or something like that to question number 7, and then move on to question to make you feel more comfortable, and then come back to this question if time permits. All right, that was number 7. It was a lot, but hopefully it wasn't too much. How do my superstars feel now? What do you want to look at? Well, I probably have enough time to do 2 more questions, maybe 3 if we hurry up. I'm gonna just start pulling stuff out of my hat. Don't worry, my hat is empty. They already talked about slope. So these questions, as you remember, the Study Smart students said that most likely slope related question will be on the test. Here is one right here to, reiterate that. We have a system of equations right up here. We have another one where we're just dealing with plugging in and solving for a function. I want to know how you all feel. I'm trying to show you a piece of everything. This is just giving us some material. Okay, this is very unique. I've noticed it with this particular question where sometimes I have a written response answer as opposed of a multiple choice. So if you was to scroll down past section 3 and scroll down past page 39, notice how it's no actual answer. But what they'll end up doing is they'll provide something of this format so that you can actually still put in the answer, the rational number, the fractional, whatever is required in the actual, test. So I want to at least, present and show you all this to not feel too intimidated on what may occur. And I think I'm hitting the stop portion of questions 1 to 20. Oswin, Jeanette, Jay, who else do I have? I got my boy Kai. Anybody? Come on, you got a chance to pick my brain before I go train. Literally.
What about 15?
There you go. Number 15. Number 15. Let me move this over so I can see. All right. So we have if ax plus 2 times bx plus 7 is equal to 15x squared plus cx plus 14 for all values of x, and a plus b is equal to 8. What are 2 possible values for c? So off top, first thing I want to ask all of my superstars in here is this question. If you were to get a question such as this, what would you rank it as? Easy, medium, hard? Anybody else? Trying to hear from you all. Are y'all writing my messages or something? Okay, medium level, no problem. Now let's see how we can look at this question and start to break it down. What we find ourselves doing first for this question. Kyle, is it a possibility for you to unmute and talk? I'm gonna try to give us writing space for this particular question as well.
Yeah.
There we go. I gave us an actual little whiteboard, almost like space towards that left-hand side of the screen. Kyle, was that you that said yeah?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what's up, my boy? How do you feel about this particular question off top?
It's medium, I guess.
Mm-hmm. What did you find yourself doing initially?
really plug in like the values for A and B because we already have what it would equal if you add them together.
So you'll find yourself plugging in different values.
Yeah.
Let me see. What if I do this? I'm gonna do one even better for you. What if I work my way backwards even with this question too? What if I was to tell you the actual answer for this question? Let me see, my screen went out. There you go. What if I also identified that what we are looking for is an answer like this? Medium, hard, depends on you all as a student, how you will rank and follow your particular questions. But let's see what we can do to start to break this down to make it look more familiar. So let me start off with the question of writing it out right here. AX plus 2 times BX plus 7. And I already told it what that equals, which in this case, it equals a trinomial of 15x squared. Then we have this coefficient of CX. And finally, we have that constant being 14. All right, so I got that part written out. You heard of that thing called, FourYear, where you find yourself multiplying the first, outer, inner, and last terms and all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah? What if we do that real fast? Try to make this look a little bit less complicated, right? What if we multiply this out to see what would that give us? Multiply AX times B, which would give me what?
AB X squared.
Say it again. There you go, Oswin. I was looking for you, my guy. Don't be disappearing on me. Jeanette, I'm waiting to hear from you too. Come on, we in this together.
So AB X squared.
So we got the ABX squared.
And then 7. Oh, A. Wait, would it be 7A X first?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
Normally they put the number first and everything goes. This is a very unique case because we won't really combine those middle values like we typically will. So I'm just going to the side of it, put the positive 2BX.
Yeah.
Normally we would combine the outer and the inner, but in this case, it's not going to happen because the variables changed. And lastly, we will do the 2 and the 7 to give us something like a positive 14. Okay, easy enough, right? Now, the other side is still with the equals. So I'm just going to write that side down. My bad, Oswin. Where's something you're going to add to what I just mentioned so far? I'll take that as a maybe not.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Casey,
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Casey, I'm going to give you a 2-minute warning. I'm going to be closing out the breakout room and we're going to be moving over to listen to Mr. Moore.
Oh, yeah,
2-minute warning.
It's about time. You got to love time, how it flies by on this. Okay, so from here, 2-minute warning. Okay, from here, we can find ourselves maybe trying to simplify things out. I see that 14, so I can find myself eliminating out. So if I was eliminate that 14 by just, let's say if I just subtract that 14 out, crossing that equal sign, at least that's my only term variable that I can combine. I'm sorry, my line kind of got sloppy. Then I'm just going to bring down a giant mess. Again, remember, people, we want to rank questions as far as a category of 1, 2, and 3. Most likely looking at the amount of work, although the question isn't as complex as we see we're trying to work it out. But I will most likely rank this question around 3, and I would just come back to it. I wouldn't just skip it altogether, but I will focus on other particular questions I can get my quick points on, and then I'll work this question out as so I'm doing. So we got this equal to the 15x squared plus CX. Come on, anyone else? What can we do from here? I like to see how y'all brains see it. That's what I'm asking. I know what I would try to do, but I like to see what you all would think of. And the funny thing is we know the solution. The solution is D. I like to give you all the solution so we can work our way to it. Don't be shy not to say something. Close out the
trying to
breakout
look.
room. Ah, they closed my breakout room. Most likely from here, I will find myself factoring. So if I'm myself trying to factor out an X or something like that. Anyone thought of that?
Yeah. Like,
You know, because as I see it, like what all am I left to do, right? I'm really, truly, all I can really do looking at it is I can factor an X out of the first equation. You get something like an ABX plus 7A plus 2B. Looking at the other side, if we can follow that same model of factoring out an X, then we'll end up getting our 15X plus C. Close that out. Anything else, anybody?
All right. How was it? How
Oh.
was it?
To be continued.
Ooh,
I'm
he's
gonna
sweating.
say,
He's sweating. He's sweating. I saw
Oh,
that.
one thing I'm always gonna do, I'm gonna sweat, especially when it comes to working on some math. Is I like to
Oh.
trigger the thought. Now, superstars, what I'm gonna do for you as well is the answer that I submitted to you. I'm sorry, the email that I gave you all that had the practice test. The answers, don't use that one. I'm gonna send you the other answers that are gonna have the answers and a little bit more of a breakdown. Please, I can recommend you all to register for the wootencenter.org so that we can book those private sessions. And for sure, we will tackle the rest of that complicated looking question.
All right, excellent. So I hope you guys feel a little bit better about the math section. Again, we were talking in my group. It sounds like most students are not taking advantage of Khan Academy. So please go play in Khan Academy. They have every every type of question in every section. They have every all kinds of practice. They have all the practice tests. So why not? Again, you can't expect to just walk in and just understand everything. I know in my section, they were saying that a lot of the questions were very intimidating. And one last thing, guys, that came up in my group, never leave anything blank. Okay, you're gonna leave nothing blank. And I know I didn't mention the grid-ins, but those grid-ins, the 5 in section 3 and the 8 in section 4, you have 13 questions in math on the SAT that have no multiple choice. So you may want to go do those first, take a look at those so that you don't, you're not left with no time at the end to do something that you cannot guess on. Because you can guess on a multiple choice, but you cannot guess on blank boxes. And you cannot afford to leave 13 questions blank in the math. That would mean you only had 45 questions to go off of, right? So, all right, we're looking forward to meeting you at 2:00 for grammar and reading. And hope you have a nice lunch and a nice break.
Thank you, Miss Vanessa. Thank you very much. And just real quick, the workbook and practice tests and answers are now available on the Wooten website. So under SAT prep. So they can refer to that. See you at 2.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so next in our schedule, we have Mr. Eric Moore. He is the CEO of Educate California, and he's going to be talking to us about youth and parent advisement. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Moore. Thank you so much for joining us. And let me know if you can share your screen. Perfect. Mr. Moore, you are on mute.
That always helps. I'm glad you can hear me now. All right. Well, once again, hello, everyone. My name is Eric Moore. I am the founder and CEO of Educate California, and we are a nonprofit organization that focuses on helping students prepare for college and careers and life after high school. I have been doing this for about 22 years, and I'm going to walk you through our program that's called the Life Prep Academy, and let's go ahead and get started here. Okay. Just a little bit more about me. I'm the founder of Educate California. I serve as a consultant to the Cal State system. So if you guys are thinking about going to the Cal State and you have any issues, definitely let me know. I also serve on a couple different boards, the Executive Service Corps and the Police Activities League. We have 2 different programs that 2 different products that we offer to students. One is our Life Prep Academy Guide, which is on the left. and we're going to be talking about that. And we also have a guide that is meant for specifically for foster, homeless, immigrant, special need, and incarcerated or formerly incarcerated youth. You'll have access to both of them by the end of the day. And our objectives for our time together will be for me to help make sure that you guys have gained confidence in how to prepare for college. That's really what we're all about, is to make sure the students get confidence in their decisions on how to choose the right careers and choose the right majors to fit their careers, how to pay for college, which is what everyone wants to know. You guys, I'm sure, are learning about the A through G requirements, which are necessary for you to attend the UC and the Cal State system, but really to help you develop a plan. That's our major goal, is for you to be able to have your own plan that you can then share with your parents and folks and the teachers and counselors, and let them know exactly what your plan is so that you can achieve your dreams. And we have an enormous amount of internet-based resources that we're going to be speaking about also. Matter of fact, we'll talk about a lot of those as we go ahead and go through the program. I believe they're going to have a video, and instead of on my website, it'll be on their website. If you have any questions, just go ahead and raise your hand, or you can put it in the chat, or actually you can just take yourself off of mute and ask the question. So if I go too fast, or if you have any questions, just feel free to go ahead and let me know. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So the Life Prep Academy. The Life Prep Academy is a resource guide that I was able to bring to the past for students, once again, about 20 years ago. It's been around for more than 40 years, actually. I was working with a group that was working on this guide, and then they asked my company to take over after they had been doing it for about 35 years. So it's almost 45 years or so that this guide has been around. Let's go ahead and walk through what we'll talk about here. Okay, so some of the main things that we talk about in the guides is how to get students prepared for high school and be successful while you're in high school. One of the main things that I always talk to students about is their learning style. This is something that I learned a lot about with my own son. And we have a website that talks specifically about that. The learning style is extremely important because in many cases, students don't understand how this works. So I'll give you an idea of how it worked, at least in my household. When my son was struggling back in '98, a long time ago, I sat down with him to ask him what was his learning style, and he didn't know. So I went through with him. There are 3 different types of learning styles. One being visual, very much like my wife. My wife is a reader. I don't know how many of you guys are readers, but she loves books, and she loves to set the scene, the mood, and everything, and read a book for hours. That's not something that appeals to me. I'm more of an auditory learner, where I like putting that same book on my iPhone and listening to it while I'm walking my dog or exercising or something like that. So there's 2 different learning styles there, one being visual, one being auditory, and then there's one that's called kinesthetic. And honestly, that's what most students are nowadays. And all that means really is that you like having a hands-on experience. You like, the typing and the videos and those types of things. And when I explained that to my son, he saw it really immediately. He said, "Whoa, wait a minute, Dad, that looks exactly like me, all these characteristics." He likes to study with music on and do things like that, something I can't do. I don't know how many of you guys can do that, but most, in my particular case, I like it being perfectly quiet. He likes to have music on, and everyone's learning style is a little bit different, but when you understand what your learning style is, it makes it a lot easier for you, because in his case, what we then did is we found good videos for him and good websites for him to use, where he was typing and moving the mouse and watching a video and interacting with the screen. And once he learned that and understood his learning style, he was able to do a lot better in high school and go on and graduate and go on to college. So this is something you definitely will want to understand, be very important for you throughout your life, is just what is your correct learning style. So, okay, let's move on. The next page talks about the FourYear planning sheet, and I wish I had met you guys back in the 9th grade, because what happens is, or some of you may be in that area, but what we want to do is to make sure the students are keeping track of every class that they take, because we have a lot of students, and especially in California, that are taking classes and graduating, but not having taken all the A through G requirements. So one thing I just want to make sure you understand specifically, what is the A through G? And A through G are 15 classes. There are 15 classes that you must take and you must pass in order for you to qualify to go to the Cal State or the UC system. So there are 15 classes, and you say, so what does A through G stand for? Well, A is history, B is English, C is math, and so forth. You need to know what that is so that you can keep track of the classes that you're taking and you know that you're on track. Because actually with my son, he took a class in summer school that he didn't have to because I wasn't keeping track and he wasn't keeping track. He thought his C- grade was not going to get him, into college, so he'd want to get a better grade, but really he didn't need to. It was an early class that he had taken. But if you keep track of the classes and whether or not they meet the A-G requirements, that way is a very effective way to make sure that you're on track and you're taking the class at the right time and the way that you should be. Okay, let's move on. Okay, page 7 talks about something very, very important, concurrent enrollment, which means that you can take college classes while you're in high school. And you say, well, why would I want to do that? Community college classes, why would I want to do that? Very, very wonderful thing to do while you're in high school, because the truth is, if you do enough of them, if you do it properly, you can literally graduate from high school with your associate's degree at the exact same time. And I've seen a lot of students do that, especially nowadays where they're really focusing on this. You can take the community college classes. You don't have to be 18. You just have to be doing well in school and to know that you're on track. You talk to your counselor, you talk to the counselor at the other school, at the community college you want to go to, and of course your parent or guardian needs to be involved in that process. But if you're on track, you can take those classes. And what that does for you is that if you take a community college course while you're in high school and do well, that tells you you really understand that subject. And that's a good thing. That should give you a lot of confidence that you know that you understand that material. Another wonderful thing it does is that the classes are free. So if you take them while you're in high school, you don't have to pay for them when you get to college. And that is a big deal because right now, all the Cal States and the UCs and a lot of colleges around the country, as a matter of fact, they are facing what they call being impacted, meaning that they have more students that are trying to get in than they have seats available in the classes. So the first year when you're taking English 101s and the math 101s, if you've already taken them in high school, you don't have to do that. You've already taken them. It'll save you a lot of money. It'll save you a lot of time. It'll help you graduate on time and make sure your 4-year experience is 4 years instead of 6 or 7 years. And it also, once again, give you that confidence that you know that information and you're ready to compete in college. So I highly recommend taking those concurrent classes when you have an opportunity, because once again, it'll give you a definite jump on getting you prepared for college. Back again to the A-G requirements, and something I like to show here is that take more than you need. Take 4 years of English, take 4 years of math. That's really what you're gonna need for the UC system if you want to go to that level. Another thing on this page talks about foreign language. If you're going to use your foreign language after high school, which is very good, as a matter of fact, students that have a second language are able to make more money because you're bilingual and there's a big need for students having a second language. So if you're going to do that and use that, which I encourage you to do, make sure that you don't skip years. That's very important. You don't want to take it in the 9th and 10th grade or 10th and 11th grade and then not take it for a year or two and then go to college and get busy, and then finally in your second year of college, you really want to start using it. So if you want to use this skill, don't skip years. Take it 3 years, 10th, 11th, and 12th, or at least 11th and 12th. And then when you get into college, you'll be fresh and those skills will be strong and so forth. So you don't want to skip years, especially with any kind of foreign language. The AVID program. If you have AVID at your school, I highly encourage you to enroll in that class or see if you can take it. It's a wonderful college prep course available. The AP classes that are out there, and people say, I like the AP courses. It's a wonderful thing to take these AP courses. That's how you get the 4.1s and 2s and 3s that are expected nowadays at the CSU, at the UC system. They expect nowadays for students to have a 4.0, 4.1, 4.2. Some come in there with even higher grades. And the way they get those is from those AP classes. One thing I will warn you though, is that if you're good in math and English, don't take AP science. Don't just take, AP classes for no reason just because you think it's going to make things look better. You only take them in the subjects that you're doing well on, because if you don't get a C or get a B or better in an AP class, then that doesn't look good on your transcripts. So I have people always ask me, is it better to take a normal class and get an A or an AP class and get a C? The answer is to take the normal class and get an A. You don't want to say that by taking an AP class, you're telling the admissions people that I believe that I'm really good at this. And if you get a C, then you really are not quite as good as you think that you are. So I highly encourage you to take the AP courses that you know that you can do well in. You want to get an A or a B in those courses. You don't want to get a grade less than that. And now there is a resource called UC Scout. Hopefully you've seen this or heard about this. UC Scout is a website that was created by the UC system and the NCAA because so many colleges do not, or I'm sorry, so many high schools do not have AP courses available for they.
Yes, my car's there in service. Yes.
Hello, I hear somebody. In the
Oh
back.
gosh, well, what's the guy's name?
Hello, somebody. Oh, there we go. All right. So to take a look at the courses, they have all the A through G courses that you can take. You can also take the AP version of all the different A through G subjects. So make sure you take a look at that. These are absolutely free. Once again, you have to speak with your counselor to let them know that you want to take the course. And because your counselor will be the one that handles the grading of the course. You take it online and the grading will be handled by your counselor. So if you would like to use this, which I highly encourage, reach out to your counselor, let them know that you want to take the UC Scout course, and they will make sure that you are on track and ready to do that. On the same page, NCAA, any students that are looking to play sport after high school, it's extremely important that you go to the NCAA website here. The Eligibility Center will tell you things that can help you keep your scholarships. We've actually had students that in the past that we've learned about, that students that have done things, just innocently, not knowing that if they put their scholarships in jeopardy. For instance, there was a young man who wanted to play football. He had an older brother who was a football player that had gone off to, I believe it was Kentucky State or somewhere like that. And he wanted to, see if that's where he wanted to go also. So he flew out and spent some time with his brother over the summer. And a coach that was a friend of his older brothers decided, hey, you guys, if you're hungry, let's go out for some burgers. And when the coach went to swipe his credit card to pay for those two kids' burgers, their hamburgers and their meals, he didn't realize that he was putting them in jeopardy, because you can't take gifts any size, no size at all. You can't take gifts from coaches or recruiters or people like that that may be trying to influence your decisions. And so that's a very important thing, to make sure that you go to the Eligibility Center so that you know you're on track and doing the right things, so you don't put yourself in jeopardy. Okay, kudos to you guys taking the SAT, right? The prep for the SAT. If you all heard about the Khan Academy, you know that the grade score is about 1,600, the average being 11 or so, 11 to 1,200 or so nowadays. If you're 13 to 14, you're 100, you're going to the UCLAs and those types of schools. 14, 15, you're going to the more exclusive schools. 15 and 16, you're going to Harvard, Yale, and all the most exclusive schools. And that's where all the scholarships and things kick in. So once again, between your grades and your SAT or ACT scores, those are the ways that you're going to be able to get into the most selective schools. Question all about, should we take the SAT or the ACT? Of course, the answer is both. And take them as many times as you can so that you're comfortable with it. That's the best way for you to do well, is to just be very comfortable with the information. So I highly encourage that. But the ACT also, in that case, 32 being, 33 being the highest score, 36, I'm sorry, being the highest score. 21 is being an average nowadays or so. If you're in the 25 and 26, that's where you're going to the UCLAs again. And as you go up the scale, that's when you get more exclusive. But you take both of them because you're able to submit the one that you do best. So I highly encourage that. Take them over and over and over and over. Okay, students with special needs. This is a very serious subject. I talk to people all the time at colleges, and they tell me that students, every year they see students that come to them that are in their second year or the second semester of their first year, and their grades are doing fine, and then they're starting to come down, and then they come in and say, hey, by the way, I didn't tell anyone, but I have dyslexia or ADD or something like that. And if you have a special need, and especially if it's a physical special need, and you come on the campus, well, then the people know that they need to offer you some assistance. And every campus in the country has a department that's specially designed for that, to help students with any kind of disability or special need. But if your disability or special need is something they cannot see, it's on you to let them know. You have to let the students, let the center know, and they will literally bend over backwards. I mean, they'll assign a student to go to class with you, to take notes with you, to study with you, whatever you need to do, because by law, they have to make sure that your experience is just like everyone else's. And there's different accommodations from the ACT and the College Board, all the different systems, but you need to let them know. They're not going to approach you, and don't wait until it's too late. And then you come in and say, oh, I know I'm struggling now, but I want to let you know about something. You got to do it right from the beginning. If we have any parents on the line, just let you know that as soon as a student turns 18 years old, they are an adult in the eyes of the college. And by law, they cannot. The colleges cannot give you information about your student unless your student gives permission. Okay, kind of strange, but it's true. I know you're footing the bill, but the student has to sign a letter. And that typically happens when there's special needs involved. But the student has to sign a letter giving you permission as a parent to access their records and to be able to contact the college if they have some kind of an issue. But one thing they tell me all the time is that parents, you can't get overly zealous. You can come on the first day or so, but you can't call 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 times a week. You can't be reaching out all the time. And believe me, it happens. You can't do that because they cannot give you a lot of information. They can only give you the basics, that your students are getting this type of grade, that they're on the campus and things are okay. So understand that as soon as that student turns 18, things change a little bit, and you need to make sure that if you do need access to their records, you get the student to sign that letter that first day when you go into the center and make sure that the student has everything that they need. Okay, on 15, 16, and 17, we have a checklist for students depending on the type of the year that you're in. And it goes through and it just literally, you can check off the different things that you need to do so you know that you're on track. One thing I will say is that just like I said about impact, the classes, the colleges being impacted, same thing goes for the dorm rooms. And I will highly encourage, if you, all the studies show that students that are able to stay in the college dorms for the first 2 years, if they're staying on campus, so going away to school, if you're able to stay in the dorms, you typically will do better. The reason for that is because students at that point, they get more involved with the college, they become part of the college, they join groups and they join committees and things like that, and they get really acclimated to the college. So I encourage you to do that if you want to go on to college and to stay on the campus. That's a very good thing to do. Just make sure that you make your down payment on your dorm room early. Because just like I said, there's way more students than there are rooms available. So you need to let them know that you are intending to stay on the campus and make that dorm room payment as soon as you can, because you don't want to get left out because you waited too long. Okay, how to pay for college. One thing that people always ask me, and we probably all know this, what's the best way to pay for college? And of course I hear scholarships and grants and loans, and those are all good answers. But the best way to pay for college is to not have to pay for college. That's the truth. And what I mean by that is that I had back when I was in college, in high school, I had about a 3.5 GPA. And no one, and frankly, I could have done better, but no one ever explained to me why I should do better. And I'll tell you why you should do better. If you know that you can get better grades and get those 4.0s and 1s and 2s. Number one, if you do that, the colleges will be perfectly happy to pay you to come to their college. A lot of students don't recognize their value, quite frankly. Colleges and universities all throughout the world, in order for them to survive, they have to apply for grants from the big major donors, the people who give them millions and millions of dollars. And in order for them to get those millions of dollars, like a Harvard as opposed to a UCLA, they have to attract the best kids to their campus. And the way that they measure that is SAT scores and your grades, just those two things. So if you have the smarts and you use them, they'll be perfectly happy to give you $150,000, $160,000 or more probably to come and study on their campus, because it makes them look good, which then is attractive to the donors that are going to give them the $100 million grant. Okay, so they need you. You need to understand they need you, and you need to take advantage of that. Be the draft pick, as a matter of fact. The best way to pay for college is to not have to pay for college. And then there's the scholarships, and that's scholarship world. And we'll talk about that in a moment, but the scholarship world really opens up around 3.25 GPA. If you have a 3.25, then that's when you qualify for most of the scholarship that I see out there. But once again, the higher your GPA, the more scholarships you're going to qualify for. And hey, if you got the smarts, don't be paying for college. Let them pay you to come to college. Another thing, I'll just tell you, because Miss Naomi told me that I'm talking to family today. If I had known that my getting the good grades would have meant that my parents wouldn't have had to come out of their pockets, and my mom wouldn't have had to drain her retirement fund to send me to college. Man, if I had just really known that, I just went ahead and got the good grades, because I would have done anything to make sure that she was okay. So keep that in mind. So the best way to pay for college is not pay for college. Then we have the scholarships, and then we have the grants, and then we have the loans. And it should be in that order. Federal grants and loans. There's the Pell Grants that are available. By the way, for students, the young men, that when you turn 18, in order to get all the different money that's available to you, you need to sign up for the U.S. Elective Service. That means that you're not going to be drafted, but they just need to know who you are. So that if there's a reason why they need to reach out to you, they will. But that way is how you qualify for all the federal federal monies that you must be signed up for the selective service. California grants and loans, there are different types of different grants that are out there. The one thing I will tell you also, there's one that's nice for a foster youth, for youth that are in foster youth or have been in foster care. There's the California Chafee Grant, which is $5,000 per year, up to $5,000 per year. It can be used for anything, for books or tuition or your housing or whatever the case. I've known some students that have been in foster care and have applied for this grant, and they use that to cover their entire community college costs, as a matter of fact, and they cover books and, like I said, housing and everything. So take advantage of that $5,000. There's some free money that's available for students that are or have been in the foster care system. But as you know, the FAFSA, March 2nd is the day for the FAFSA. It comes every year. Never forget that, March 2nd, March 2nd. And in October is when the application starts up. And what they do is they have these things called Cash for College. These are workshops that are all over the state that specifically are made to help you learn how to fill out your FAFSA application. And you cannot get both federal and state money unless you fill out that FAFSA. And that's the main thing you gotta understand. You cannot get money from the state and the government unless you fill out that FAFSA. And the Cash for College workshops are wonderful because you can literally take all your data there, take your parents can go down with their W-2 forms and the application and so forth, and they will help you fill out the whole thing right there at the workshop, okay? So I highly encourage you to, starting in October, November timeframe, to start researching those Cash for College workshops because they're wonderful to help students get prepared for college. I'm sure they may start having some online stuff because of what's going on with COVID too. Scholarships. If someone ever says, hey, if you give me some money, I can help you find money for college. The answer is no. Scholarships are free. Finding scholarships is free. Okay, there are hundreds of websites, and I'm going to show you some of them in just a second, but you should never have to pay money in order to get money. This 5-paragraph essay, what this is that talks to you about the structure of the way that you apply for the scholarships. Most cases, they're actually expecting you to fit all your submission, the essays that you submit in a very specific format. And the 5-paragraph essay will show you what that format is so that you'll stand out from other students. So it's kind of a tutorial on how to write your scholarship essays, okay? But then on our website, we have hundreds of scholarships right here on our website. We have a whole page on the Life Prep Academy website where there are scholarships, and you can see they're for every nationality and whatever your situation is, but they're available for everyone, and they're great. I will just show you on the scholarship engines portion. We have scholarships like the middle class scholarship. I encourage you to investigate that. And I'm going to give you guys a link to our website and the membership to our website at the end of this presentation, so you'll have access to everything I'm showing you. But this middle class scholarship here, that's for families with an income up to $177,000 that are going to the Cal State or the UC that will help your students and give you a bunch of assistance right there. But if you sign up for these three here, FastWeb, CapEx, Big Future, and if you sign up for just one of these three and put in your information, create a membership and a profile, they will send you more scholarship applications and more scholarship opportunities than you can ever apply for. Trust me, with my kids, I had to turn it off because they were sending them like 4 or 5 at a time every day. So you sign up for those 3 different websites or one of those 3 different websites, you put in a profile, they will send you things that are tailored for you, okay, and different scholarships that are tailored for you. One other thing I will talk about is the military. If you have students that have parents that are in the military or retired veterans, especially if you're a disabled veteran, between the military.com and the U.S. Veterans Magazine, which are both scholarship resources, literally your entire college career could be paid for. Your entire college experience can be paid for free, okay? So check those out if that is your situation. All the students that have military families, you have some wonderful benefits that are available to you. Okay, managing money, being savvy about credit cards. I'll just touch on this for a second. People say that, you know, when your kids going to college and the worst thing you want to do is to give them a credit card. I used to be a financial planner, so I heard that a million times, but the truth is that's not true. The students do need a credit card. You just don't need 4 or 5 credit cards, okay? That's the thing, is you need one good credit card for emergencies. There was a young lady a few years back that was heading off to Northern California to go to college at Berkeley. from Los Angeles and her car broke down halfway there. If she didn't have a credit card with a good balance on there for about $500, she wouldn't be able to rent a room for the night. Halfway there, get her car fixed and then go on and have a good experience. So you need to have a credit card, but you don't need 5 or 6 credit cards. Don't have lots and lots of balances. I encourage parents maybe to get a student $400 or $500 limit or something like that, something the parent can pay off if it's necessary, or at least take care of the payment so it won't get too crazy. But learn how the credit cards work. I always ask students, if I loan you $100 and I tell you if you don't pay me back in a year, you're going to owe me $126, is that okay with you? And students always say no, but that's how credit cards work. They have interest on it. So this is very important. They have interest on it. So if you borrow something, they're going to expect you to pay interest on that money. And if you don't pay it back for a full year, the 26% I mentioned, that's about normal for when you first get your credit cards. So if you borrow $100 and don't pay it back for a full year, you're going to owe 126. Okay, that's just how credit cards work. They have to charge you for the benefit of using their money and you paying it back a little bit over time. But they have a nice thing in there. If you use the money on your credit card and pay it back within 30 days, they won't charge you any interest at all. That's pretty cool, okay? So keep that in mind. If you use the credit card, pay it off, use it all, pay it off, use it, pay it off, then you'll keep your balances low, you'll keep your credit good, and they won't even charge you interest. They'll give you a 30-day loan, essentially, with no interest as long as you pay it back within 30 days. So be savvy about credit cards. We have a whole website that talks to students about how to do that. And I encourage you to click on that and take a look at that. Okay, living away or at home, you need to understand how budgeting. Once again, I said at 18 years old, the checks now don't come to mom and dad. They come to the students, and it's in the student's name. So if you do live on campus and the money comes to you and is then available for you to spend, it's important for you to know how to make sure that you have budgeted that money out. Every year, I have people that call me and, Mr. Moore, can you help us find some scholarships for my son or daughter because they spent some of their grant money or whatever the case may be, and now they don't have enough to go back to college. So it's very important that you understand this whole budgeting process so that you make sure that the money that you get will last you for the entire semester, year, whatever the case may be, and you can budget that money out. And don't forget things that are important like entertainment. You need to have some fun. You can't just be a student and a robot. You got to have some fun. Entertainment, you may want to spend time with a boyfriend or a girlfriend or some of your friends or whatever the case may be, but just budget that into your budget so that you know that you're not going to be spending money that you need for other things in the wrong way. So very important. And once again, this is a skill you'll need for the rest of your life. So I definitely encourage you to pick up this skill, how to budget for things. Okay. So how do you choose the right college? Very important. The best way to choose the best college is to go on as many campus tours as possible. That's the way to do that. Go on campus tours, see the campus, and ask questions. That's very important. Now, I'll show you, there's a whole website of questions here that are available. The best thing possible, if there are parents on the line, once again, the best thing for a parent to do, and if you're a student, then you have to make sure you let your parents know that I said this. The best thing to do is to contact the college before you go to the college. Let them know that you want to come and to spend the day with a student that has a similar story to yours. It may be a young woman or a young man that has a similar story. They grew up in a certain area. They're both, they're going to pursue English, or they're going to pursue the law, or whatever the case may be. But find a student that has a similar experience to yours, and the admissions people can help you do that because they have students that do tours all the time. So you let them know you're coming. Mom or dad, your mom or dad, give them a few dollars, maybe $20, $30, so they can have a nice experience. They can get some food and spend the day there and so forth. But then parents, you got to leave. You can't be there with them because in many cases, the student's not going to ask questions with you there. They're not going to feel as comfortable as if you were not. And when they do get there, they need to ask some very important questions like, how much time does students spend on homework? What's the average class size? Are there any, security issues that, the students have learned about? I remember one student that said, yeah, I learned by talking and asking questions that there's a certain area of campus that's really dark in the evening. So if you're going to go through that, go through with a friend type of thing. So you need to ask the questions and ask a lot of questions. And I would encourage you as parents to say, okay, you're going to go, I'm not going to be there, here are the questions I want you to ask, and then student, you need to be able to come back to me this evening and have some answers. Since I'm gonna give you that chance to go out by yourself, at least I need to be able to ask you these questions or certain questions, and you should be able to answer them. And you as students need to understand that don't just spend the day there, spend the day productively, ask the right questions so that you have the best experience. Okay. Okay, what's the tips for getting into college? Let's see. Okay, let's talk about the different types of colleges. The 3 public colleges here in California. So there are the UC system, which has 10 campuses. Cal State system has 23 campuses. They're all beautiful. The California community colleges now have 115. And we update this because they have 115 a virtual campus in addition to the 114. But as you can see, the UC is about $30,000 a year. The Cal State's about 17.5. The community colleges is $46 per unit. Now let's think about this for just a second. If you are, well, number one, those community college courses that you are going to take while you're in high school will cut down some of your costs. So that'll be a good thing. So your Cal States and the UCs, if you do pick those, the concurrent classes like I talked to you about, that will reduce some of the fees. You won't have to pay as much for those classes because you will have taken the English 101 and the Math 101 and those basic types of courses. But something I also talk to a lot of admissions people about, and they say that you need to understand that if you are not certain that you understand what you want to do in college. So there's 3 things. If you're uncertain on how you're going to pay for college, your grades may or may not be necessarily what they want to be, and also you may not be sure what you want to do for college. If you have all those 3 things in line, you know what you want to do, you have the funding, and you also have got the right grades, go straight to a 4-year college. But if you're just trying to figure it out, doesn't it make a lot more sense to pay $46 a unit, instead of $17,000 or $30,000? The answer is yes. For $2,500, you can go all the way through the community college system and get your AA and then transfer to the UC. And another thing that students don't quite get is that community college is not the 13th grade. It's a whole different world. You're in college. And so the nice thing is your whole college career is completely separate from your high school career. So if you didn't do as well as you wanted to in high school, but you get into college and you just really do everything and apply yourself and get straight A's, you can still go straight to the UC system or straight to Harvard or wherever you want to. It's a brand new, clean slate, as they like to say. So it's not just a continuation of high school. It is a completely different thing. And even if you didn't do as well as you should in high school, if you do well in community college and then transfer, that is perfectly fine. A lot of people are doing that. And a lot of people are encouraged to do that now by the UC and the Cal States. Quite frankly, they're encouraging that. And you save yourself a lot of money and get yourself to the point where you know that you're really prepared. Okay. So once again, though, if you know what you want to do, you have the funding and everything, go straight to the 4-year. I'm not discouraging that. I'm just saying for those that aren't quite sure, they want to take the time to figure things out before they really get into, jumping into the Cal State or the UC. Going through a transfer process is a wonderful thing to do. So here are the community college all over the state. There is now a new program that 15 of the 114 community colleges have been given the opportunity to offer, which is a bachelor's degree program. So I'll show you this. So what happened was they decided that they wanted to allow students that are on different, because I talked about that being impacted, because there's so many kids trying to get on the Cal State and the UC campuses, that they have students that are pursuing certain things in the community college with the plan of transferring over to the UC or the Cal State. So they said for 15 different colleges, and here are the ones, that will allow you to offer just one subject where a student can actually complete not just their AA, but their bachelor's degree on the community college campus, okay? So if you know that you're gonna go into dental hygiene, you can literally get your associate's degree and your bachelor's degree at West Adams. It costs just about the same. There's not a huge difference in cost, but it is a nice opportunity where you don't have to leave campus and go to another school or something like that if that's what you know that you want to do. So for all these different colleges, they have one thing that they can offer. And if one of those is what you're planning to pursue, it can give you just another way to do it without having to face the fact that the schools that you may be trying to get into are impacted. So that's a nice offering from the community college system. If you do go the community college route, you'll need to get very familiar with these 2 websites, AAT and Assist. Assist is the website that is used for transferring. So you'll literally be able to go there, type in the school, the community college that you're currently going to, the four-year college that you want to go to, and it'll give you a plan so that you know that every class that you take at your community college will transfer successfully to the Cal State or the UC class that you, the school that you want to go to. And the best thing for you to do, is on day one when you are assigned to go to the community college, is go to your counselor and let them know, this is my plan. I want to start here and then go to this school. And they will make sure that they go through the assist with you and make sure that you're on track and you have every class, you're taking all the classes, so you'll be successfully able to transfer to the college that you want to go to. But don't go it alone. Talk to your counselor to make sure that you've done the assist portion right, and they will make sure that, that you're on track. Okay. The California State University system, once again, 23 beautiful campuses. Some of the ones out like in Monterey and Channel Islands and so forth, those are the ones that aren't as impacted as the other. But I'll tell you, like Cal State Long Beach and San Diego, there are students coming from all over the world, literally, that want to go to those campuses. They want some of our California sun and our weather, and those are some great schools. So there are people coming all over the world that they want to go to the Cal State system. If you want to get into those colleges, your grades and your GPA are going to determine it, because just with basic 3.0, you can get into the Cal State is your local Cal State and the one that's around the corner or very close to you. But the more selective Cal States, the one that are facing the most impaction, that means your grades have to be way up there, because they're saying, hey, look, we have 3.7s and 3.8s that are trying to get into Cal State San Diego and Cal State Long Beach. So you have to have those grades in order to compete with students from all over the world in order to get onto those campuses. But they're wonderful campuses, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more in a second here. They have a new program called the Early Start Program. It used to be the students that come into the community college and get to the Cal State system and take a test. If they didn't do well, they would put them in what they called remedial classes, meaning that it wasn't the English 101. It was kind of like an English 001. It's a class to get you up to speed to take the 101. But they found that the students' education was taking 4, 5, 6, 7 years. So they said, no, from this point on, every student, as soon as they get on the Cal State or UC campus, you will be earning credit for those courses that you take. But what they will require, if your skills are not as strong as they should be, is for you to take this program called the Early Start Program. And the Early Start Program will get your skills up to snuff so that you'll be ready to, your English and your math skills up to skills, so you'll be ready to compete at the Cal State level. So it's very important that you do that, that you are ready when you get there. And to make sure you are ready, here, this Early Assessment Program. That's a program that can be taken in the 11th grade, the 12th grade, but this lets you know that, yes, I think I am doing well, but am I really on track for studying at the Cal State level, okay? The truth is, in many cases, some students are going to college or going to high schools that are not, let me say it nicely. There's a school called Harvard Westlake in Los Angeles. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's attached to UCLA, and pretty much every student that goes to that school is on track for a 4-year college. If you go to some of the other schools, your 4.0 may not be as strong as their 4.0, if you understand what I'm saying. You still may be a 4.0, but when you get to college, you don't want to get there and realize, man, I thought I was doing really well, but I'm not quite as prepared as I thought it was. So take the Early Assessment Program in the 11th grade, and that will let you know if you're on track and that your grades are on track and so forth, and you do really have a mastery of the different subjects that you're going to be studying when you get there. Okay, here's how you can tell if you're eligible. Once again, down here, it talks about your GPA and your SAT score. So it gives you a whole calculation on how you can determine what schools you qualify for. All the Cal State schools have a minimum index of 2950. So with a 3.0, you automatically qualify for the Cal State. But if you want to go to a more selective Cal State, you need to be getting your GPA up and your SAT score up, because those scores are looking, those more selective schools are looking for the 3200s and the 3400s and 3500s. Those are the ones of the students that they're going to be admitting to the class, the ones that have the highest numbers on their eligibility index. So the UC system, 10 beautiful campuses, 9 of them you can go to in your undergraduate years. I believe Davis is the only one, Davis or Berkeley, you have to remember which one. but that's the only one you can't go into your undergraduate years. They're really for graduate students, but they're beautiful campuses. I've been to every one of them. If you're going to the UC system, it used to be called personal statements. Now they're called personal insight questions. You'll need to get very familiar with that. There are 8 questions that you can choose from. You'll have to choose 4 of those questions. And with those 4 questions, you're going to need to write a 350-word essay. That's where I'm talking about those 5-paragraph essays. So you need to write an essay on who you are. Why should you come to the campus? Why should they admit you to their campus? And I'll just give you, actually, since you're not in front of me, I'll just tell you the answer. I always have students say, well, you know, and I've asked this literally of the folks at the UC. If you have 2 students that are coming to your campus, they have both the same grades, they're great students, how do you choose between one or the other if they are, you know, identical as far as their qualifications? And the answer to that is always, always, always extracurricular activities, okay? And what I mean by that is that they want to know, did you play a sport, play an instrument? You know, were you part of the student government in high school? Were you a cheerleader? You know, do you volunteer at the food bank, you know, every year and give away food? Do you know, volunteer at your church to help the community and those stuff? That makes you stand out. And you may wonder, why was that important? And the truth is because they have some super, super smart kids on their campuses that just go from class to dorm if they don't have a life, okay? So they want you to be part of the community. They want you to come and add something to their college. So if you can come and say, yeah, I was on the cheerleading squad, I might do that here. I was student government, and I was, you know, whatever, I was on the yearbook team or whatever the case was. That way they know that you'll get involved with their school and get involved with the campus, and you won't be a student that can burn out quickly by just focusing 100% of your time on school, okay? So they want those well-rounded students. And once again, I know you have 50 hours you're supposed to do for community service. You don't want to come in there with just 50 hours. You want to come in there with 150 hours, because the 50 or 52-hour students, they did it just to qualify. The 100+ hour students, they did it because that's who they are, okay? So come in with as many community service hours and those types of things as possible, because it'll make you stand out on the application every time. Okay, the independent colleges like the USCs and Loyolas, wonderful schools, typically have a little smaller class size, may be a little bit more expensive in some cases, but they're definitely competitive with the UCs. But definitely take advantage of those. We actually had a young student, a young lady that, you know, she had family and friends that had gone to UCLA, so she wanted to go to UCLA until she got to UCLA and realized, her being a very shy person and also a very religious person, she didn't fit in there. It was such a huge thing. If you haven't been to UCLA, it's like a whole city for UCLA. So the people there said, well, look, you know, maybe this isn't the right campus for you. So she took a look at Loyola Marymount, which is a religious school with, you know, with 25 kids or 30 kids per class instead of 250 in a theater type of story like it is at UCLA. And she found that that was right for her. So take a look at what the different ones. There are a lot of different colleges, and you need to find the one that's right for you. Don't let someone else tell you what college is the right school for you. You choose the one that's right for you. Studying abroad. If you decide that you want to study abroad, I had a young man that had an uncle that was a broker for international goods from China, and he's from Japan. And he said, hey, I want to study in Japan just because I want to take over my uncle's business in one day. And we laughed about that, but it made perfect sense. So he did a study abroad. There's actually a website called studyabroad.com that you can go to. Western Undergraduate Exchange. If you want to go outside of California, but not too far, there are 15 states that have come together to say that if you want to stay local to your local, we will reduce the amount of the tuition. So typically, if you go outside of your state, the tuition is twice the in-state tuition. So they said, okay, we won't make it twice, we'll just make it 1.5 times the tuition, okay, which will save you a lot of money. Literally, I've heard students that have gone to the University of Nebraska or Montana or Colorado or University of Nevada, Reno, and places like that, and they're going to a UC level school for the cost of the Cal State schools, okay? So there's some great options, and they'll treat you like kings and queens. They want you, they need you. So they'll, you know, some of the schools will actually fly you and your parents out to take a look at the school and take a tour and those types of things. So take advantage of that. If you want to stay local, not too far, maybe an hour or two plane ride back home, that's a good way for you to save some money on college also, the Western Undergraduate Exchange. Okay, some other options, the military academy, distance learning. let's see, apprenticeships for students that aren't quite sure what they want to do after high school, and for those that have said that I want to go directly from high school into work. Some of the great options for you are ROP centers, the apprenticeships. There's some great options, as a matter of fact, under apprentice. There's a whole website called Cal Apprentice that talks about all the different options that are available and all the different industries that you can go into if you like to go directly from school to work. All right, so that's a great option for students that are looking to do that. Private career and technical schools, very popular right now, as a matter of fact. And on this website, it talks about what's the difference between a vocational school, like a medical school, a trade school where you're going to learn specific electrician or plumber or carpenter, those types of things, and then the technical schools and what the differences are. And they have them all down here where you can take a look at what options are. And you can say, well, you know what, I love computers, let's take a look at this option. And I bet a bunch of you guys didn't know that for computer science and something like, oh, web design, people love doing web design. You know, you can make $150,000 with only a bachelor's degree in web design. Wow, yes, good money, okay? So take a look at all these different things. There are options out there. You just need to make sure that you get comfortable with what one is the right one for you. The US military, once again, they'll pay for your college, give you scholarships, you know, give you a nice suit to wear, and send you traveling all over the world, and you get benefits when you are out of the military. When you decide to buy your first home, you'll get a discount on your mortgage also. So there are some benefits of being in the military. AmeriCorps, if you are not sure what you want to do after college, after high school, you want to take that gap year, don't just sit around watching TV. You should do something productive. Once again, that'll look good on your transcript when you go to the college. You let them know. I decided to take a year off because I wasn't quite sure what I want to do, so I volunteered for AmeriCorps. And they sent me off for a full year helping people and helping the world. I'm working in the rainforest, or I went to Brazil, or I'm building homes, or whatever the case may be. And then at the end of that experience, they gave me $6,200 for my college experience. As a matter of fact, they give you $6,200 to say thank you, and here's some money for you to go ahead and go to college and to do whatever you need to do. But it's just a nice way of them saying thank you for taking a full year to help the world and to help people. It's a great way. Don't just take a gap year and do nothing. That's the best thing for you to do. Okay, quickly, we're gonna walk through career planning. We're gonna run through some things here. We have some assessments down here at the page. There's some great assessments that you can take a look at. Highly encourage that so you know what you wanna do. This page is very important, exploring the different careers. 2 websites, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. I'll just show you very quickly. This has a website that can say, actually there was a young lady who said she wanted to go into healthcare. So I clicked on this particular one and we went through the, how much pharmacists make and doctors and so forth. And then she thought about, well, maybe that's not quite what I want to do. But you can go through and it starts off on what do you like to do as opposed to you want to do. And so that's a good thing. It's a good way for you to choose a career that fits your desires. This one here, the Road Trip Nation. These are videos produced by young folks, not too old, not too much older than you, that are in college or just finishing college. It talks about how they went through their experience. They went to this college, they were trying to do this thing, and what they did to get into the career that they finally landed in. So it's a great thing to hear the videos and the stories of students of all diverse backgrounds and nationalities and so forth. And they talk about what they had to do in order to get to the experience that they wanted to do. So I highly encourage taking a look at Road Trip Nation also. Okay, your first job. We're gonna talk about networking for success and marketing yourself and so forth. Don't be afraid to tell people what you're good at. That's the marketing for yourself. Resume writing. There's an actual resume on page 60. 61 talks about cover letters. Preparing for the interview, and actually, real quick, I'll talk about this here. Preparing for an interview for a job and preparing for an interview for college are very similar in 2 certain ways. Very, very important things. Number 1, the first thing that they're going to do at both situations is look at your social media pages. That's number 1. It used to be the last thing to do. Now it's the first thing they do. They want to see what kind of student are you? What kind of person are you? Or and you may think, well, this is my personal page. Yeah, but they want to know, is this the kind of person I want on my campus? Is this the kind of person I want working for me? Okay, so it's very important when you are going to apply for a job and applying for college that you get your social media pages in order. You don't want things on there that are too controversial because people will judge you without even knowing you. That's just how it is. That's the truth. And with the interview, another thing, big deal, is your email address. A lot of times I find students that have a nickname or they have a bunch of numbers or kind of things, you can't quite tell who they are. You don't want to have that. You want to have that for your friends and family. So that's your personal email address that you can do with funds and has your nickname in it. But when you're applying for college and you're applying for jobs, you want to have your first name dot last name at wherever, Gmail, Yahoo, wherever you want to do. Okay, so you want to have a professional email for work. You want to have a fun email for your friends and family. Okay, very important to separate the two. You don't want to be sending stuff with your nickname and people aren't able to clearly determine who you are by your email because they think you're not serious. So keep your social media pages in order and make sure you have a professional email when you're applying for both jobs and for college. Okay, once you turn 16 and get your, or 15, 16 and get your work permit, there's a whole new, there are laws that protect you. You need to know what those laws are. That's covered here in 64 and 65. It talks about all the different things, that regulations that are there to protect you as students. So make sure you get very comfortable with that. I had all kind of experiences as a young man where things happened to me where I look back on it like, wow, they never should have done that. You know, I should have never allowed that. But the only reason it happened is because I didn't know what my rights were. So definitely important that you take the time to understand what your rights are and learn all about that. Okay, so now we're winding up. The last part is talking about the healthy living and effective social skills. Once again, if you do decide to go and stay on the campus, that means you're not going to be home getting that good food from mom and dad. And so what you need to do is that you need to understand how important it is to get the right, have the right diet, to have exercise, and also sleep. Because if you don't, it'll be very hard for you to compete in those classes if you don't have the energy and things like that. We hear that every year. I do hear it every year where students are doing well, but they're not doing well all of a sudden because they're not taking care of themselves. So it's very important that you understand how important that is, to the point where I actually put some tips in here for young ladies and for young men on how to feed yourself and some diet lines and so forth. So if you are off on your own, you're not just eating burgers and fries and pizza every day. You need to make sure you're taking care of yourself and your health so that you can do well while you're in college. And then lastly, we're going to talk about internet safety and auto safety. Very important. Nowadays, students are facing texting and driving and those types of things. I'm sure you hear about it all the time, but if you're in a position or a situation where you're not sure to respond to someone who's texting and driving while you're in the car, here's some things you can say. Hey, wait a minute, direct. I'm sorry, but you got to stop this now. You know, or you can be subtle. Look, you're worrying me, but you need to feel comfortable with how to address that situation. Actually, in my family, unfortunately, I've lost a couple people to car accidents, so that's very touchy for me. So very important that you know how to handle this if you're in that situation. How to be a super driver. Once again, how to think first about safety and be aware of your surroundings. Once again, very important things. Smart surfing while you're on the internet. You need to be safe. You don't want to tell people, hey, my family and I are going to Jamaica for 2 weeks. You know, that just invite people to come into your house and see what you got there. You come back and nothing's there when you get back. Okay, so you don't want to give them. You don't want to give people your full name and your home address and your social security number and your password. You don't want to do all that stuff because there are going to be people that are trying to trick you into giving that information so that they can steal your credit and your identity. So very important that you understand how important that is. Don't give out all that information free. And then also cyberbullying. And this may not be happening to you, but it could happen to a friend. If you understand what it is and what the signs are, you can let them know that there are resources out there available if they're going through that. And then once again, you want to be there. Parents, you need to know what the signs are. If you're a student, if they're all of a sudden the person that was always on social media and no longer want to be on social media, there may be some issues going on. So you need to find out what the clues. You can go to the website here to learn about all those different things. And this is lastly, once again, being protected. There's a protection initiative because students are getting tricked by getting things on their phones, and they'll respond to something and sign their parents up for something and so forth. So just be careful about that. Once again, there are going to be people out there that are trying to reach you as young folks, and they get that you have your cell phone all the time. They're going to trick you. They're going to be trying to trick you through your cell phones. I know you get lots of ads and things like that, and just watch out and be careful about that. Okay. So last thing is a friend of mine runs the youth crisis line. If you or anyone you know is having kind of issues, depression, suicidal thoughts, whatever the case may be, and you need someone to talk to, please reach out to the folks there 24/7. And there's someone there that's available to help students and kind of walk them through the process of getting on track and so forth, and getting their life in order so that they don't do anything to harm themselves or anything like that. So I very much encourage that. And lastly, once again, the Cal State system, and something I agree with, best investment you can make is to get your degree, and that'll work on your future. And I highly encourage you to take advantage of all the options. And once again, kudos to you guys for going through this class today, because that means that you're definitely very serious, and I'm proud of all of it. So that is the end of the presentation. The one last thing that I am going to show you is on our website, which is called the lifeprepacademy.org. Once again, lifeprepacademy.org. In order for you to get access to what I just showed you, we have a digital version of what I showed you. The best way to do that is go to our website, go to the login button, and come to here, create a membership. Okay, you click on create membership, and this is the way it becomes free. It normally is $11.95. You're going to get a free membership. The way that you do that is by typing in this code. You'll want to write this down. LPA for Life Prep Academy 20. And you type and you hit that, and you type in, hit play, apply. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, 2020, I should say. LPA 2020. LPA 2020. And as you can see now, it'll say discount 100% off. So that means that you will have a free membership to our site, and you can go back through everything I just showed you, click on all the websites for absolutely free. And once you'll do that, what you'll need to do is to finish these off, create your profile, your first and last name, create a screen name, password, and then do me a favor, enter that LPA 2020 here, whoops, 2020 here, and that way I will know that you've used your code, and I can let Miss Naomi know how many people have actually taken advantage of the free resource, because I donated these to the Wooten Center, and I want to make sure that you guys are using it, okay? So with that said, and then once you put everything in, it'll take you back to our home page. You will see your name up at the top. It'll say hi, or actually howdy. It'll say howdy, Eric, or howdy, whatever your name is, and you'll be ready to roll. And you can then go back to log in to the Life Prep Digital and click enter, and you'll be on your way. Okay. So I hope this has been good information. I hope that this that you got something out of this. If you need to reach me, you just go ahead and let your instructors know. They'll be able to reach out to me and so forth. And I look forward to seeing you all again, and good luck. And I hope once again this has been good information.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moore. I swear this is my second time listening to your presentation, and I learned so much more. So we really appreciate it. Just for reference, the code, does it have to be all caps or?
No, it doesn't. No.
Okay, so
doesn't.
LPA 2020, great.
Yep. And
great.
And you will have a free membership.
Thank you so much. So I appreciate it. Nice to see you. Have a great weekend.
Take care, you guys. Take care.
Thank you. So I'm going to turn it over to Miss Vanessa and let her work on some language arts stuff. Do you have, can you share your screen, Miss Vanessa?
I sure, let's see, let me see. Now I can. I think he had to just get off the call. Beautiful. I sure can. So I thought you guys were gonna get the time off, and then I saw it went right into something else. So that was awesome though. And I feel like I got to basically sit in, since we also do, we also teach some similar, we've done some similar workshops. It was nice to see somebody else's perspective. He had some great resources, guys. So definitely take take advantage of all of those. And the other thing I wanted to just point out was that, as you saw when Mr. Moore was covering that stuff about the remedial classes, which he seconded, right? If you notice on page 40 of his materials that he was demonstrating on the SAT, it said that point system that he was talking about, where it depends on your GPA times this, that, a certain thing, that if you have below a certain level, that your score matters. If you notice, the score that they had there was 1100. So again, it's that 550 in each section. That will allow you to test out of those remedial classes, and you won't even have to go through that early start program, because they're going to say, oh no, these kids are all certified. Oh yeah, no, Jeanette's cool. Gitano, Dulce, Dylan, they're all cool. They're good to go. Sonora, they're good to go. Navarre, Kyle, Daisy, they're all good to go. Bryant, they're good to go. They can take any class they want. Okay, Sanaya. So again, we want that to be you guys. We want that to be you. For sure. As we start our ELA, I'm gonna spend the first portion of our time on reading, and then we'll spend the second half on the writing. And I know that there was pretty much equal interest in both. So I'm glad we're going over every section, because at the end of the day, any extra question you answer correctly is points in your pocket, right? So for sure. So we're going to get started on page 25 of your booklet. 25 of your booklet. So again, you should see this page if you now are able to access those materials. And so we will start on these couple questions about the reading section and gloss through that really quickly. So let's see. Yeah, Mr. Moore was awesome for sure. All right. So let's see. So everybody here, let me know if you're on page 25 and let's get started. Actually, let me show you this. I think I'm going to show you this instead. So let's go over in this way. Here's some of the answers to those questions, which we've talked about already, and I think it was Mr. Casey that had covered before we got to the call. And so for the reading section, which is the first thing you're gonna see, right? As we open up an SAT test, bam, first thing that we're gonna see, 8 o'clock in the morning, when your eyes are barely, right? You had to get up super early to get there. Make sure you were in your seat ready to test at 8 o'clock, right? So you know you got up very early, and the first thing you're gonna see is this reading test. 65 minutes for 52 questions. So let's see how that ends up figuring out over the time. How we use this information is to highlight the fact that now that those 52 questions are divided into 5 passages, you know that you have about 10 to 11 questions per passage, and also that you have 13 minutes per passage. So the way we use this is that if you were going to go do a practice a passage in one of these practice tests, you know that you have 13 minutes. You can put 13 minutes on your clock, and that's the amount of time that you should be able to read and digest this information, look at the questions, and answer them accurately in that time frame. Okay. Now, a lot of students that we work with tend to find this a challenging timeline, specifically if you end up spending a lot of time on reading. I've seen kids when I proctor, again, spend 20, 30 minutes on just one passage, which is, again, a scary prospect. But when you start to see these, again, 13 minutes per passage to go through all of this, answer all those questions. This was 10, and then bam, you get 13 new minutes for this next one, for example. So I think that ends up being helpful to allow you to, for practicing and knowing. Because I know, again, I have high schoolers. I know you guys don't have an hour or 65 minutes every week, but I bet you could work in a 15-minute drill. Chat me if you think you can work in a 15-minute drill once a week to do one passage in which you spend 13 minutes reviewing it and answering it, and maybe 2 minutes checking. So who feels they could do a 15-minute drill? Sanaya says she can. I think that's referring to that. I got one yup. So who has 15 minutes a week to rock the reading section? All right. Brittany has some time. Sonora has some time. Diana. All right. Jalen's down. All right. Now, mind you, you have 8 practice tests, right? So you have, well, I'll have 2 here. I know you have at least 1, but 5 times 8, guys, is 40 passages, my friends. 40 passages. I'm not saying you need all 40, but imagine that you have 40 to practice with at your disposal. I promise you, within a few, you're going to notice, man, they're repetitive and boring, especially when you compare, compare the types of passages. They start to get real, real repetitive and familiar, these questions. So let's talk about the type of passages. So there's 4 types of passages, okay? And I know that there's 5 passages, but there's only 4 kinds. So you see that there's going to be some repetition. So the first passage you see, 100,000,000% will always be literature. There's not one test you'll find out there where literature is not the first passage, okay? And I can tell you that from a lot of my students, and again, I'd love to hear from the other instructors as well, but from my one-on-one experience in the last couple years, teaching this, literature is one of the most challenging, along with that dual passage, okay? So the literature is a little challenging because it's like a very small portion or a little, excerpt from a whole novel. So it's hard to get the thread of what's happening, even if they do try to find an iconic scene within that book. But if you compare that to like the social science, that is an experiment that has, or the science that has a beginning and an end, there's a clear thesis and experiments or something, it's a lot easier to answer the social science and science that come along with some of those charts and figures that we already discussed, right? And so it's a lot easier to answer those than the dual passage in the literature. So you might find yourself skipping around based on your preferences, okay? We would encourage that you skip around and not do it in their order. We're going to say the same about the questions, okay? So you might leave that dual passage and literature either for last, or if you like to tackle the hard items first, you may want to do those first, because you know that with those other ones, it's going to be a little simpler. So again, you may want to stack your deck kind of like with the math, do those grid-ins first, the harder things, and then do that. But again, it is definitely up to you. But as you'll see, the dual passage, if we can talk about, anybody want to share what the dual passages? Anybody have a good description? And I love that Jasleen, Navar, Daisy, Amy, Ashlyn, and Ian are also willing to take on the 15-minute-a-week challenge. What do you guys think? What is the dual passage? Not the dual package, the dual passage. What is there 2 of? There's 2 of something. Okay, so there's 2 passages that are similar in theme. Yes, Sanaya, thank you. And what they are gonna have is differing theses. So just like Jalen says, they're gonna ask you to compare and contrast the opinions of those 2 individuals or those 2 organizations or those 2, whatever they are. And so it's a little more challenging because instead of just finding one, main idea, you have to find 2. And like Jalen said, compare and contrast. And like Sanaya said, see where they're similar and maybe see where they're different. So that's definitely a challenge. And then as you'll notice, there's going to be definitely 2 social science history passages of those. The last 3 vary. The first 2 do not. So it's almost always that the second is a social science passage, and it will have charts and figures. So number 2 and 4 usually have, or 2 and 3, depending on how they put the 4th one. Because again, the dual passage is usually the 4th or the 5th, but the dual passage can be science or history. So sometimes they do 2 historical documents side by side. So again, it can be in a couple different areas. So let's talk about these question types, because like we said, they're very, very repetitive. What question types do you guys recall in the reading section? Again, what do the reading questions sound like? Give me a couple question types. And again, if you want to unmute yourself, okay, unmute yourself. All right, you know, please. So what does this word mean? Thank you, Sanaya. Yes, so we call those vocab in context. So yes, the meaning of the word salacious in line 17 is what, right? Most like, you know, closest to which word? Excellent. So what does this word mean? There's going to be about 2 per passage. So there's usually close to 10 of those. So there's 8 to 10 of those on every test. So again, that's 80 to 100 points just on those if you can get good at the vocab in context, right? All right, love it, Brianna. What was the author's purpose? So some sort of main idea or main, you know, main theme, purpose, something like that, right? So yes, they're gonna go very, very narrow and ask about one word, and then they're gonna go very broad and ask about the theme or the purpose. Yes, so those are some other question types. What else? What else? Those are 2. What else? What other kind of questions do you see? Ooh, which choice provides evidence? Thank you, Sanaya. Yes, so you're referring to one of the paired evidence questions. So usually there'll be a question that asks you, you know, some kind of fetch question that like, what happened in the story? How did this person react? Where did they go? You know, how does this person feel? What would he like? You know, blah, blah, blah. And then, oh, well, and where did you find proof for that? Right? So there's definitely paired evidence questions. There is usually 2 per passage, which means 4 questions per passage, which means close to 20. So there's usually 18 to 20 or 16 to 20 of those paired evidence questions. What other types? What other types of questions? I mentioned a question type based on our math lesson. What kind of questions are we going to see that would be based on our math lesson? So from our math lesson, what kind of question types would we be able to use that math lesson we just covered? For what kind of question types? Or what question type, I should say. Ooh. So those charts, graph, and table questions. So just like they have them in the math, they also have ones attached to this data. So here, I think we talked about you guys mentioned every question type, the vocab in context. I told you there's usually 8 to 10. Those paired evidence questions, they're usually 16 to 20. For line reference, there's 2 per passage, so there's 10 of those. And then, line reference is one we didn't mention. So they actually ask you, oh, in this line, such and such happened or whatnot. And so you're gonna refer to those specific lines. The main idea, which was mentioned by Brianna, that's usually at least 1 per passage. In this case, they only asked about it in 4 out of the 5 passages. And those charts, graphs, and tables. So as you see, this is the type. Now in red, these are the numbers for practice test number 1. So this practice test number 1 here, this is the breakdown for this passage, for this test, okay? Again, this test number 8 is a little bit different, right? But this is for that's the breakdown. But again, now you know it's gonna be within that 16 to 20, 8 to 10, it's gonna be in those. So my main purpose today, on top of giving you the strategy, is also lifting a giant weight off of your back. So yes, when you get off of this call, ladies and gentlemen, you will be a lot lighter, because if you felt, actually, let me ask, with your little thumb reactions, if you felt that you had to read every word, or you felt compelled when you went to that reading section that you had to read every word from the first to the last before you could get to those questions, raise your little thumbs. So again, who felt compelled to read everything? Okay, I got one. Admit it. I see this all the time. All right. We got a couple, 3, 4, 5. All right, admit it. If you wanted to read every word, I see you. I know, right? It's very, very common, right? I know. My daughter, she didn't want to practice SAT with me until she had taken the PSAT that day, came home and was like, Mom, I didn't finish. I couldn't finish any of the sections. Maybe I should practice SAT stuff with you. So for sure, right? But I'm here to tell you today, I'm here to testify that you will not have to read the whole passage from first word to last word ever again, at least not in that way, okay? The good news is that for the majority of question types, you do not need to read the whole passage anyways, okay? For sure, for those vocab and context, we only need to read that sentence. For the paired evidence, you only have a specific area to look at and then 4 specific quotes. So you have to read those quotes, perhaps, but not the whole passage. For line reference, you have to read the lines in question. And for the charts, tables, and graphs, again, you have to look at the charts and maybe have an idea of what's happening in the passage, but you do not need to read the whole passage. So that means that there's at least 34 questions, more than half of the test, that you can allow you to get a 30, right? Get higher than the amount without having to read the whole thing. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to read enough of it. You will read enough of it, okay? You will read what you need, but you don't have to start with just reading the whole thing, which is what takes up a lot of time, okay? So the majority of students spend way too much time reading and not enough time on those questions. So that's where they get caught. And when they are so focused on the reading, they tend to make mistakes on those questions because they're not reading them carefully. So they might miss that except, that not, or make other little mistakes, like not look for direct support. Because remember, you guys have never seen this test before. You have never read The Angel's Game from DragonWorks, translated whatever in 2009, where this narrator, a writer, recalls his childhood in Barcelona. Okay, you've never read this before. So where are all the answers, my friends? Where are all the answers going to be to this? All the answers to this are where? Where's everything you need to know? In the text. Thank you, Sanaya. So again, you're going to go through and find that proof in the pudding so that it looks like this, right? It looks like this, where you can say, okay, ooh, question 9 right here. Proof in the pudding right here. Question 3, bam, right there. Question 8, right here, underlined. I know what it is. I can show you where I got these answers, right? So that you can say, okay, no, this isn't true. Yes, this is true. Look, this is question 4 and 5 right here. This is where I got this answer. So again, you're going to look for that proof in the pudding. When you're done with that text, it should look like somebody went over it. It should be marked up. It should be underlined. You should be able to see where you got these answers, because you're going to look for that direct support in the passage, right? You're going to look for that pudding. So any score that you want, your area score, you would divide by 10, and then that number divide by 2. So you can just divide by 20 as well, and that'll give you your test score that you need. So again, this 28 is this 560 that'll test you out of those remedial classes, right? So this is the test score. You can work backwards. If you wanted a 700, you'd know this would be a 35. So again, whatever score you want. And so you may want to take a look at what your school wants. But again, if it wants less than a 550 like Northridge or Long Beach or whatnot, you still want to get higher, not only to impress them, but also so you test out, right? Also so you test out. So here we have the strategy that we're gonna put forth, okay? So this is how we're gonna do it, okay? When students do it this way, it tends to work much more efficiently. And again, we've heard some great feedback about this. Okay, so step one, we're gonna read the blurb. The blurb or the reference, you could think you can call it, is that little piece before the passage that includes the author, the title, the publisher, again, when it was, and sometimes it has a little bit about it. Okay, so let's go take a look at one of those. Oh, look, this is the second one. Let's take a look at this one. For this one, it says that this passage was adapted from Flynn and Adams' Money Can't Buy Love, you guys. Asymmetrical beliefs. So what does asymmetrical mean, by the way? About gift price and feelings of appreciation. Now, mind you, they said money can't buy love, right? But what is asymmetric? If you have asymmetric beliefs, thank you, Jeanette. They have two different sides, and they're two different, right? They're not equal, right? The beliefs and feelings of appreciation are not equal, right? One puts more over here and less over here and whatnot, right? They are asymmetrical. They are not equal and the same. So again, we have something to do with, again, these don't match, right? These don't match. So that at least we know that from this one, right? Now, how about if we go, let's see. Let me try page 10. Bam, here we go. So let's take a look at one more. Now, by the way, that second one was social science, right? That second one was social science. And you know what? Let me make this a little smaller, just real quick so I can show you something that I really meant to show you. And that is, if you look, that second social science, bam, what does it have? A chart. I told you, the second one will always have a chart, okay? So here we go to the third one. And now let's look at this. Sorry about that. Page 10 it was, right? Okay, so you see this is has a base composition of DNA. So obviously this is science, and there's a table. I see maize, octopus, chicken, rat, human, grasshopper. Okay, so let's see what this is all about. This is a very long, blurb. Genetical implications of the structure of DNA. And here we have where they talk about how this group deduced the structure of DNA using evidence from Rosalind crystallography diagrams of DNA and from this data. So here we have all science, science, science. We know what this passage is. And so you get a sense. So the first thing you're gonna do is read that blurb. Now, the second thing you're gonna do after you read the blurb is you're going to go and find the thesis, and you're gonna underline it, okay? You're gonna do some kind of marking up so that you know what the thesis is, and this is the main idea. Now, pray tell, my friends, where do you write your theses? In the beginning, all right? If you have any more specifics than that, I'll take it. Thank you, Sanaya. But yes, at the beginning, so in that introductory paragraph, maybe. Where do you repeat it? Where do you repeat it? In the conclusion. Thank you, Kai. Thank you, Jasleen. So yes, if we looked at this article and I only allowed you to read 2 little sections, where would you most likely find the thesis? We could say somewhere in this section, right? And somewhere, and they should repeat it in the conclusion, right? Or whatever that is. So again, you're going to skim the first little paragraph and maybe the beginning of the second, the end of the passage, and look for some kind of concision on what it's about, right? Remember, you have an idea. We know, for example, this one is about DNA, and it's the genetical implications of its structure. And it looks like they're comparing organisms, right? So they're looking at the structure and how it compares over different species or whatnot. So you're gonna have some idea, right? So you're gonna go look at that, and that's it, my friends. Now you're ready to go look at those questions, okay? So once you have an idea of the context of the passage from the blurb, again, the era, what kind of passage is it, right? And then a little bit about it, and you find that thesis, we're gonna jump to those questions, okay? So the way we're gonna order the questions ourselves outside of the order that they're given is by putting them in order of how much reading you need to do, okay? So the least amount of reading you're gonna do first. The ones with the most amount of reading is gonna be at the end, okay? So for example, if it's based on one word, like those VIC, those vocab in context, you're gonna do those first, jump to those first off the bat. If it's a phrase, you're gonna do it next. A line or lines, you're gonna do that next. Then you're gonna do the charts, tables, and figures. Okay, let me start a new box. I'll just have to put chats, even though it's charts. And then you're gonna do anything that's based on a whole paragraph. And then lastly, the whole passage. So if it's about the whole passage, you're gonna leave that till the end. Okay, so that's the order in which you will do the questions. How does that sound? What do you guys think about that idea? What's nice is as you answer the questions and read those little lines, you actually read more of the passage. And even by the questions themselves, you get an idea of what's important. So yes, remember, every single question is worth the same. So all those vocab and context are giving you 10 points, and so do those whole passage questions give you 10 points, right? All right, so once we have gone and read through those questions and seen what areas, oh, this is question 3, question 2. They're asking about this word right here, salacious. Oh, and convey. What does convey mean in line 7D8, right? So you're gonna go mark up that passage like I showed you before, okay? And in this section, okay, in math, you saw that we use the answers, right? We use them as we use them. In grammar, I'm gonna tell you to use those answer choices as guides. But in reading, it is the only section where you do not use the answers, okay? You're gonna go to the passage, see what the answer is in the passage, and then go with what you already know to be the answer and cover and predict, okay? So you're gonna see, okay, I know the answer. How did the village react when this character came to town? Were they excited? Were they fearful? Were they skeptical, right? Were they whatever, I don't know, whatever. Were they upset, right? So you go and the story will tell you which one of those. Oh, they were happy because he brought medicine. Oh no, they were wary because he looked scary or whatever. So you're gonna see and not look at the choices. You're gonna go by what the story says and match what you know is true, okay? And then in a little bit, I'm gonna give you some of these trap answers or traps that they try to set for you And so you can use that process of elimination to help you out. Okay. But let's look, I think we did good on read the blurb. I think we covered that. So let's talk a little bit more about find the thesis, okay? The one thing to be cautious of when you're looking for that thesis is that it is an opinion, okay? So again, a thesis is going to be an opinion, okay? It is not a fact, okay? So for example, dinosaurs are extinct, fact. They have a thesis, if dinosaurs were alive, they would rule the planet, right? Or alternatively, if dinosaurs were alive, they would make great pets. Because I've always wanted a little Dino, okay? Dino, so cute. Or if any of you guys are Land Before Time people, because that's your age group, again, a little foot, a ducky, so cute. So again, that's a thesis, right? Again, the fact that the US is divided into a lot of states, that's a fact. If I said, I think it's time to make Washington, DC, Puerto Rico, Guam, the Virgin Islands, and the Mariana Islands, all states, and we should go make the 55 states of the United, the 55 states, right? So that's a thesis, right? So again, just make sure that you guys are very cognizant of any kind of concept that you pull out. Make sure that it is an opinion. In terms of the thesis, we talked about looking at that first and last paragraph, the alpha and the omega, and then kind of summing up the thesis in your own words. But always, guys, skim those body paragraphs. Look and see if there's anything that jumps out at you. Let's go to one of these tests, for example. Again, this one about the Angels game. I know we didn't look at the first and last paragraph, but as you scan the middle, what are some things that pop out at you? If you just briefly look, what are some things that stand out? Anything stand out about the middle? Any people or that you're familiar with? Because for me, for example, right away, I saw this Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, right? Mr. Dickens, whatever. And then I happened to see this Semper and Sons bookshop, my favorite place in the whole city. Again, I don't know about, again, in terms of, I did see he didn't like books in the house. I see books in the house. So it sounds like there's something, and I see book. So this has to do something with a book. Oh, look, he tore the book from my hands and flung it out the window. Uh-oh, right? I just see books. He had to hide my books. So see what I mean? Again, I haven't read it. I don't know, but I see that Charles Dickens' Great Expectations does play something, plays a role. It looks like he had to hide his books. He wasn't allowed, this child to, again, remember, this was the one where he recalls his childhood, remember, in Barcelona. His dad never let him see books. So again, we already have a kind of an idea as you start to look at what pops out at you from the middle. If I showed this one, again, this one is the second. This is page, this is SAT practice test 8, okay, just to show you. And this is the second passage. So this is a social science passage, why null results rarely see the light of day, for example. And here, null results, right? So here we know it's social science. It's our second passage. There is the chart as expected. Like I said, it's definitely gonna have a chart attached, always the second one. But as you look through this, is there anything that you see in the middle that starts to jump out at you? Again, I see whatever this test is, that this is time sharing experiments for the social sciences. I guess that they did this. this guy Malorta or Malhotra, sorry, or whatever, experiments. So you start to see what jumps out at you. Again, here's the second half. I see UC Berkeley, right? Very important paper. And again, they continue to talk about tests and publishable results and again, data, right? So you see again, statistically significant, just the type of wording that jumps out, right? That jump out. So that's all we're talking about here. So tell me, of these two, which is the thesis? Chat me. A or B, which is the thesis about the Vietnam War? One's a fact, one's a thesis. What's the thesis? All right, Sanaya, Amy, thank you. Love it. Jasleen, Brittany, okay, for sure, right? So opinion A, B is a fact. Okay, so make sure that's exactly what we're talking about. All right. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit and ask you to go to page 35. You do have some areas that you can practice, finding the thesis. And in the back of your booklet, you do have an answer key with all the answers to any activities, answer to all the activities that we don't do, okay? Now, so step 3, we talked about ordering the questions. Let's talk a little bit more about the questions types. So we talked about the question stems, but not types. So there's 2 types. One are comprehension or fetch questions that ask about what does the passage say here? What does it mean, this word, whatnot. Then there are the harder questions that are reasoning, which ask you about the main theme and then ask you to make assumptions, and ask about inferences and suggestions and things like that. So these are going to be a lot more broad and these are going to be very specific. So you have this table there on 35 that you can fill out. But the main point is that, guys, these questions are both the same amount of points. So you want to make sure you answer all your comprehension questions that are very specific, that are attached to lines or, specific words or charts, and answer those first and leave any of those reasoning questions for the end. Because I promise the more you work through those comprehension questions, you'll get a better sense of the passage. Now I'm going to ask you guys to actually take one step back, my bad. And that is to go to page, I believe it's 32. Let's go to page 32. Because I want to introduce you to this one passage that we're going to be working with for the rest of the time. Yes, here on page 32. So I'm going to ask you to look here at page 32. And so let's take a look at the blurb and this first paragraph, mostly the end, but this first paragraph, to see if you guys can give me an idea about what you guys think the main idea of this is about. So again, let's read this blurb and the first paragraph to see what you guys give me the sense of what this is about. And thank you, Ryan, for answering Brian's question. Every single passage will have a main idea that they're gonna ask you about, or some kind of main premise for sure. So let me know what you guys think. So for example, this passage is adapted from a description of the present appearance and geological history of a particular volcano. And it's written by the American naturalist John Muir, which you will soon see is no geologist, my friends. He is a naturalist, not a geologist, right? But he's writing about a particular volcano, both its history and how it looks right now, right? What, from the first paragraph, which volcano is John Muir enamored with? Can you guess? Shasta, hey, for sure. So this is all about Mount Shasta. And indeed, if you look, we have a chart which looks at eruptions during the past, how many years, guys? How many years of a history does this offer? 4,000. Thank you, Jasleen. Now, do you see our mountain in question here? I see Mount Shasta near the bottom. How many, and thank you, Bryant, for the 4,000. How many eruptions do you guys see from Mount Shasta, which is actually here in Northern California? Ooh, 7. Bryant, Diana, Jasleen, quick with the count. Love it. Okay, so yes, there are 7. How are these distributed across the 4,000 years? Is it all in clusters? Was it in a short time, or is it throughout the time? Again, how does this compare over the time? So throughout. So there's gaps in between of a couple hundred years, right? Love it, everybody. Kyle, Daisy, love it. So yes. So in between, we have a couple hundred years, right? Couple hundred years in between, right? Or a certain amount of time. And these eruptions have been kind of evenly spaced throughout 4,000 years, right? So every 500-600 years they have one, or 400, 500, 600 years they have one, an eruption. Okay, so now are all mountains made like this? They have about 12 or more. How do they compare? What's the least number of eruptions you guys see? Okay, I see 1, 2, and 0. Yes, so there's 2 that have none. Mount Baker has 1, and some have just 2, right? So there's some are very either none inactive during this time, or only and some like Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier, which anybody in Washington would be very familiar with, because we've had multiple eruptions in our lifetime, or at least some in my lifetime, for sure. All right. So our time is almost up for the reading, but let's go look at this first. Oh, no, I did not. I'm so sorry about that. Sorry about that. 1 second. So if you take a look on your page, what was it, 32? Come on, give it to me. Give it to me now. All right. Let me make it a little, there we go. Okay, so here we are on, sorry. Page 32. Okay, so let's take a look at this first paragraph and at the last sentence, or at least this first paragraph. What do you guys learn about Shasta? Because I see that it's an old volcano, gradually accumulated, 4,000 years, right? Gradually accumulated and built up. I see successive eruptions, so there's a lot of eruptions, right? And then it says, not in one grand convulsion was Shasta given birth, nor one period of volcanic storm, right? But although some mountains have been more than 1,000 feet have been cast up like molehills in a night, right? So are all mountains made the same way, guys? What can we do? What can we understand from this? This Shasta was made how? Fast or slow? Slow. Again, gradually accumulated, successive eruptions, right? It was made slowly over those 4,000 years, right? That's how it got created. And then it's not in one little special period, right? There was a lot going on. And over here, you see at the end, this is the end over here in lines 59 through 66, right? That if you look, that thus by forces seemingly antagonistic and destructive, right? Shasta created with fire, with ice, and then water, it was created, right? So there's these antagonistic and destructive competing forces. So we haven't read the middle, but apparently from fire, we went to ice and water. And that's how it got so foresty and gardeny, right? So we have a good idea. And so now we would be ready to go and look at those questions, okay? So these are the questions for that article. Now, based on the rubric I gave you, from the least to the most, which questions would we do first? Which questions would we do first? So which questions would we do first? Okay, the definition question. So in this case, we would do this one, number 1, because it's only one word. We do this one, number 2, because it's also based on the one word quiescence and deliberation, right? So next, what would we do? Here we have this glacial winter, 2 lines, right? This would be probably 3. Here we have a couple lines, so maybe that would be 4. Here I see on the passage, theme. Oh, look, a chart question. This would be next, number 5. Now it turns out there's 9. So this theme we would probably do last because it's the most broad. And let's see. These 2 right here are the paired evidence. So we should do these next, 6 and 7. And then this one by itself, because it's an inference question. Let's do this one, 8. Okay. So again, this is how you would kind of go through and number them. Okay. So for example, you have here, again here, you see this is number 5, 6. Why? Because these are 2, again, middle questions about the whole passage. Again, about the whole passage. Ooh, I'm so sorry. But now here, number 3 is our number 1 because it's a vocab in context. This one right here is a paired evidence question along with number 5. You're going to leave those for last because this is about, in this case, 7 and 8. And here you have this one, 10. This is going to be the last. These are going to be the last, the main purpose in the passage, right? But look, this one right here, based on just line 32, is number 3. And this one, this vocab in context on one word, is number 2. And here you have this paired evidence question as well. Because it's based on something short, it'll be easier to do. If it's based on something long, then you want to leave it for later. Okay, and likewise. So you're going to order these questions. Here you see them again, right? You see 1, 2, you see the same thing. 1, this vocab in context. Okay. All right, so real quick, I want to show you that now we would, like I said, cover and predict, mark it up and cover and predict. And I want to show you this slide because we can actually answer some of these questions here real quick, and then we'll move on to the grammar. But here you have, this is question 4. Here you have those first 2 questions. So if I said, let's look at this last sentence with deliberation. Thus, eruption succeeded eruption with alternating haste and deliberation until Mount Shasta surpassed even its present sublime height. But let's look at this sentence. What word do you think we can stick in here for deliberation? Now let's look. Eruption succeeded eruption. What does succeeded mean here? Chat me about, wait, sorry. What does it mean succeeded? Is this successful? Each one was bigger than the next, or it followed? So like succession, like family succession. What do you guys think? Eruption followed, right? Yes, eruption came after eruption. It wasn't that one outshined and when it was bigger and bigger than the other. No, it was repetitive. Eruption succeeded eruption. They just followed each other. There was a one, they followed each other, right? Now, how did they follow each other? They followed each other with alternating haste and deliberation. Now, the key words here are alternating and haste. You may not know what deliberation means, but you know what it means to alternate, right? What does it mean to alternate? I'm gonna wear my black purse. I'm gonna use my red purse. I'm gonna use my black purse. I'm gonna use my red purse, right? I'm gonna alternate. I'm gonna go between 2 things, right? I'm gonna have cereal. I'm gonna have eggs. I'm gonna have cereal. I'm gonna have eggs, right? So to alternate, right? So what is haste, guys? What is haste? If you're moving with haste, how are you moving? Fast. Thank you, Kyle. So again, most people know haste, right? So this is what they're banking on. They're banking on those 2 words. Alternating haste. So what are you going to alternate something fast with? If it's fast, what are you going to alternate it with? The opposite. What's the opposite of fast? Slow. So our predictor word for deliberation is slow. That's it, slow. Okay. Now let's do the same thing with quiescence. Let's do the same thing with quiescence. All right. So sections cut by the glacier, displaying the internal framework they must have looked at, right? All the little layers of rock. And what they show is that there are comparatively long periods of whatever quiescence or quiescence is, right? Whatever that is, you can ask some adults. I know they don't know what that means. But whatever it is, it intervened. And it intervened between what? Between many eruptions. Now, you know what eruptions are. So what did you see on that time frame? So if they intervene, they come between, right? They stopped. If somebody else came and intervened in our class, they would come in and stop our class, right? And come in and do, this is an announcement, right? So they're gonna stop it. So what stopped all those eruptions? What's the opposite of eruption? The opposite of an erupting volcano is a, what's the opposite of an erupting volcano? Okay. All right, you guys came up with the dormant word. All right, so a sleeping volcano, right? Basically a non-erupting volcano, right? An inactive volcano, right? So our words here are slow and either dormant or inactive, right? But that's what intervened. Okay, so now I want you to remember what we looked at in question 4, which is not in one grand convulsion, right? Although some have been cast up overnight over 1,000 feet, right? That was this end. Okay. So I want to take you now to the questions. All right, so let's go to those questions and let's see. I bet you we can answer. Because we just did that part where we, so here we go. Question 2. The meaning of deliberation most nearly means, what was our predictor word? Slow. And so do you guys see slow? What's the answer to number 2? A. All right, all right. I like it. I like it so far. How about number 8? Quiescence. What's the opposite of erupting? Da, 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 da. You guys called it dormant, right? All right. So then we had done number 1. What can be inferred from these lines? Would you infer that all mountains are formed in the same way? Would it be that volcanoes are all under 1,000 feet? Or that most mountains take a long time to form? Or is it that different mountains are created in unique ways? All right, so what do you guys think about number 1? Number 1? What do you guys think about number 1? What do you guys think about number 1? That was not in one grand convulsion was Mount Shasta given birth, though some mountains over 1,000 feet in height have been cast up like molehills in a night or something. That was that graph. So what do you guys think? Give me a letter. Give me a letter. So number 1, yes, is D. Excellent. Just that different mountains are created in different ways. All right. So now remember our chart? The chart asked, is the data consistent with what he said about the eruption pattern? Remember, he said it was gradual, right? So does it agree, yes or no? Is it a one of the no's or is it one of the yeses? And if so, why? So does the data about Mount Shasta, those 7 eruptions, does it agree with what Mr. Muir says? Answer me at least yes or no. Yes or no. Yes, okay. So now is it yes because of C or yes because of D? So is it yes because of C or yes because of D? Again, think of that chart. How long was the chart? The chart was 4,000 years, right? So that means that D cannot be correct, right? D is wrong because they did not take place over the last 1,000 years. They took place over 4,000 years. So it means D is incorrect and it is C here, right? So how about 7? I bet you guys can guess 7. If you think about what we looked at in the conclusion. But let me show you one more area. Take a look at this 3rd paragraph because we looked at the first 2 and the last. Let's take a look at this 3rd paragraph. What does the first sentence say? And then followed a strange contrast. The glacial winter came on, and this is actually one of our questions, right? So read this, take a look at this, and we can take a look at the question and see, again, the sky that so often had been darkened, right, by the cinders and ashes and the glare of those fires was now filled with what? Snow. And again, it cooled the mountain. It gave birth to these glaciers, right? One big conical glacier, a creeping mantle of ice that crushing, grinding, remodeled the entire mountain from summit to base. So it definitely went through some changes in this glacial winter, right? And that's why over here it went from the fire, if you recall, from the fire to ice to water. So when you guys take a look at these, you find that, see, what do you guys think of 7 now? Which is the best title for this piece? D, thank you, Sanaya. Yep, Shasta, a study in contradictory forces, that fire and ice. Okay, but again, take a look at the passage and what you see. Okay, take a look at the passage and what you see. Definitely do the questions in order of, again, of these, of how much material it's based on. Okay. All right, and so now what I'm gonna do is spend a little bit of time going over this second section for the grammar, because I know several of you wanted to hear that. But tell me, what are your questions about the reading section? Questions, concerns, comments about anything in the reading? What did you guys think of the strategy? What did you think of the strategy in this, again, going from the blurb to the thesis to the questions and going that way and not really focusing on the reading as much? What did you guys think? Jalen said it was faster. All right, all right. Diana liked it. All right. What else? What else? Talk to me. All right, so Daisy likes that she doesn't have to read the whole passage. Again, I do hope that I freed you from that. Yeah. All right, and that you can test both ways. All right, excellent, excellent. So I know we've been hopping around. Okay, we're gonna jump to page 47. Okay, 47. All right, so Jeanette said it's very different from what she usually does. So excellent. Yeah, please compare it. Compare it to your current, to your current method. I've had students try it both ways and then they see again. And you may want to blend it with your own, with your own style. All right. Here we go. Okay. There we go. So now that you guys are there, let's talk about the writing. Like we said, this is part 2. So literally 2 minutes after you finish 65 minutes of reading, 5 passages about main idea, vocab and context, all of that, what do you see? This writing test. So now 35 minutes for 44 questions. Now, similarly, if we look at the breakdown, you find that there's only 0.8 of a minute per question, guys. Okay, so this goes really fast. That is literally 48 seconds. Okay, 48 seconds per question. So it's not that you couldn't stare at these and decide, oh, should that be a comma, no comma, period, colon? Should that be writing, has written, when you had all the time in the world. But when it's like, comma, come on, what is it? What is it? Hurry up, 48 seconds, read it. Is it, keep it? No, it's very challenging. So again, I acknowledge that. So the more you practice and the better you feel about the rules that you're going to apply, the easier it will be. For this one, 100%, you will never read the whole passage. The only paragraph that you will read in full is any paragraph that has to do with sentence location. So if it has to do with which, to make the most sense, this paragraph, this sentence, sentence 5 should be placed where? Before number 1, after 3, before 2, whatever. they'll give you befores and afters. But for sure, those read every sentence in the paragraph. Note if the number is at the beginning of the sentence or the end, because I've had students move the wrong sentence under this time crunch, okay? But other than that, you will only read the minimum that you need for the question, okay? Now, the major question types are verbs, and this time I want to show you this. No, this tool? No. This one, here you go. Sorry about that. So I want to show you that what we're going to go over right now is this is half of the writing test, for example. The half that has to do with grammar and writing convention. So it asks about punctuation, about the verbs, the pronouns, about chop, sentence structure, and again, idioms and prepositions. The other half is expression of ideas, and that is distributed amongst questions that ask you about word choice, concision, so being, saying it in the most concise way, transitional words, sentence and paragraph location, like I mentioned, there's usually 3 of them, or at least. Just be careful with those. And then of course the charts and figures, you see another 20 points there for you for that. And then those main ideas, which at least it's 1 per passage, if not 2. So this kind of gives you an idea of the breakdown and how many questions of each there are. Again, in Khan Academy, you can practice each one of these, okay, everyone. So I noticed several of you said, "Ooh, I need help with grammar." Again, in this little time together, we can't practice it all or introduce you to all of these, but I can let you know what the question types are so that you can take that to Khan Academy, right? And then look for your section, look for your section and look for the different question types. So here for example, for SAT and writing and reading, you have, again, different areas, okay? So here we say we're in grammar, and then you have all these different things. You have concision, precision, transition, all of those things that we just mentioned. All right. So this is a messy slide a little bit in this machination, but I do want to point out that, again, you're not going to read everything, but I do want to read that again for verbs, commas, and punctuation, pronouns, word choice. You only need to read that 1 sentence that they're in, because that's all the information is going to be based on. It's isolated to that 1 sentence. If you have to combine sentences, then you have to read those 2 sentences and decide if they're complete or incomplete, and if, how they might be combined under those circumstances. And for transitions, for example, then if it's within a paragraph, you need to read a little before and a little after. But if it's between paragraphs, then you might need to read the end of 1 paragraph and the beginning of the one in question. So it really does depend on what they're transitioning and what question, what's the question, and that'll decide how much you have to read. Again, here you see the same things, similar, the same scoring, you divide by 20, so I'm not going to go over that again. Here you did, I already discussed how the 2 halves, the conventions and the expression of ideas are split. You saw the questions and what types are there. But for this section, almost everything is underlined. Almost everything. And so if you have, the question is going to be, do you like the underlined portion or no? So does it have an error? And so we need to get rid of it. Is there an error or is there not? Now tell me, what % of the time do you think they're going to give you something correct? What portion of the time is it going to be no? There's no error in this underlined portion. How often do you think that'll happen? Chat me. Ooh, Sanaya said rarely. Okay, give me some percent. Give me a percent. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Okay, Diana said 20 maybe. Give me a couple more, my friends. Give me a couple more. Think about how many questions. Other ideas? Okay, well, it's going to be 25% of the time, which means 1 out of 4 questions, which means if there is 44 questions, that means it's going to be 11. So 1 whole passage worth. But are you going to see that whole passage together? Are they going to all be no change, no change, no change? No. So that means if you have about 11 of those and we divide that in 4 passages, there should be about 2 to 3 per passage. So it's important to just consider, okay, if you see a bunch of no change, no change, no change, no change, Houston, we may have a problem. If you see none and everything looks wrong, Houston, we may have a problem. So look for them to be sprinkled, okay, sprinkled. It could be 2 to 4, but again, because they may not be exactly, but that's empty. But for sure it'll be 1/4, right? But that means that 3 out of 4 will have an error, right? So when you don't have an error, or when you think it's correct, then you're going to still compare all your other choices, make sure there's something wrong with each of those. And if you're still sure, you're keeping no change. However, 3/4 of the time it's going to have an error and A is going to be eliminated. You're going to look at those remaining choices and see, okay, what else is wrong here, right? Maybe they repeat the error. It's very common that they repeat the error in one of the other choices. And then you're going to look at the smallest differences, guys. You're going to look at every comma, every apostrophe, every letter where it is. Make sure you didn't miss an it's, a then or a than, an illicit, right? Those kind of theirs, all those homophones that they love to mess with. The wrong principle, that kind of thing. But always, always, always go for the answer that is not only grammatically correct, but also clear and concise. Okay, they love concision. And how are we doing on time? All right, all right. So would anybody love to volunteer, or at least volunteer? I don't know, love it, but volunteer to read this sentence? It'd be so appreciative.
I can do it.
All right, thank you, dear.
Jason and Bianca, each a wonderful student, rides the bus for 2 hours every day to attend the best high school in Oakland.
All right, you're awesome. We should have put in LA. Again, we should put our city of choice. But yes, Jason and Bianca. So what do you guys think of this underlined portion? Do you spot an error, or is it all okie dokie? What do you guys think? Chat me, chat me. Is there an error, or is it okay? Jason and Bianca. Okay, there's more than a student. Okay, okay. So you're not sure if there might be an issue with the each a wonderful student phrase. Okay, okay, okay. All right, all right. What do you guys think of the verb? So what's our subject here? Our subject is plural. As again, Brianna pointed out, there's more than one student. We have Jason and Bianca. What did Jason and Bianca do? Jason and Bianca, what do? They rides. Ooh, Sanaya said ride the bus. This don't say rides. Ride. This says rides. So do Jason and Bianca rides the bus? They rides it for hours. What do you guys think? So where's the problem? The problem is with which word? A big problem is definitely rides, right? For sure, rides. Yep, definitely, right? All right. So that means it can't be A. Right, can't be A. So if you look, does anything repeat the problem? D repeats the rides, right? So that means D is also incorrect, right? So that's for sure. So now we're left with B and C. And I know some of you said it was B. So let's talk about it. Is it B or C? So let's look at these. Now the difference is, like we said, if we highlighted them. So they have a comma and a dash. That's one difference. And then the fact that this is a plural and singular student. So again, is this about the dashes and commas, or is this about the phrase inside? So what do you guys think? Is this about the phrase, or is this about the punctuation? In this case, it's going to be the phrase inside. This is an A positive, or again, an interrupter describing Jason and Bianca further. So we do need, things on either side. As long as they match, it's okay. It doesn't matter if it's a dash or if it's a comma. Either one is appropriate. The problem is this singular or plural students. So again, can you have each books, each backpacks, each tables? Can you have each plural of anything? What do you guys think? Excellent, Diana, Bryant. No, you cannot. So the answer in this case is going to be C, even though it is very odd that, and not the usual way that we say each a wonderful student. It's actually correct, because you can only have each student be wonderful in and of, for his or herself, right? So each student is wonderful for his or her own self, right? So for sure. So the most grammatically correct answer and concise is C. Again, B was incorrect because of the students, not because of the dashes. Okay. So we have a couple tips for you for this section. Okay. And the first tip is, don't use your ears. And I realize that you're not going to be talking to yourself in the class, or excuse me, in the test, but you do read to yourself in your head. And don't go by how it sounds. A lot of my students are like, oh, miss, I just go by what sounds good, right? And don't go by what sounds good, because these days we've forgotten what good is, right? What proper is. We're not used to seeing it or hearing it anymore. So for example, you have a couple examples here. They love to throw you some homophones. Your secret will always be between you and I. Again, unless you look at the spelling of you wouldn't know. It sounds good, but it spells wrong, right? So it's spelled incorrectly. The other error in number 1 is the pronoun. So here, nobody would bat an eye if I said, oh, your secret is, will always be between you and I. Your secret is safe with I, people. Your secret is safe with I, right? So if you try to test that pronoun, you'll find it is an object pronoun, and I is always a subject pronoun. So it's always you and I when it's part of the subject. You and I should go to the movies. Hey, Akuna, you and I should go to the movies, right? Because you go to the movies and I go to the movies and we go together. If I said you and me should go, Akuna, that means you go to the movies and me go to movies. Me go to movies all the time, right? So if you try to carry out that pronoun, you'll quickly discover which is the incorrect one. In number 2, you see that they try to fool you with lose instead of loose, right? And they like to throw in that which instead of that. Now remember, in the grammar section, everything that is not underlined is correct. So if you see a comma that, then that's incorrect, right? Because which usually needs a comma and that never needs a comma. So just watch your whiches and that's, okay? We have a couple more here just to show you. You have the who's and whom's. And just to remind you that who and whom's, it works exactly the same like the pronouns. Who is always going to be the subject pronoun replacement, and whom is the object replacement. So for example, when we write a letter, we write it to whom it may concern. Whoever cares out there, this one's for you. But remember, they're the ones that receive the letter, right? They're the receiver, and the one that's writing it is the who. So the who is the writer, the whom is the receiver. And that will always be the same, outside of the letter context. When you see this person or singular, words like this, make sure that you're looking for singular pronouns. So this person turned into they and them, right? But we do it all the time. Oh my God, this person had no idea what they were doing. It took them like 20 minutes to like get me one thing. I was there forever, right? We just say they and them, and we wouldn't bat an eye. But it should be him or her or he or she. Now, our second tip as we close out is to use those answer choices as guides. And I did mention that already. And for example, you would know right off the bat that number one is a verb, right? Number two, you can see it's and theys. So that means that's a pronoun. And number three, because it's the middle and you have, again, some commas and colons or semicolons, then this is a sentence combination, a clause punctuation. So again, take a look at what they are. You will clearly see which one is a sentence combination, which one is a pronoun, a who, a it, a that. And the final tip is to cut the fat. And what that means is to bring that subject and verb closer together. You'll find what they love to do is give you the subject way up here, 2 random lines, and then your predicate way down here, so that you don't even remember what the subject was by the time you get way down there. And so what we're going to do is cut the fat like we did with our kids that went to that best school in Oakland, and we're going to get the verb and the subject closer together. So for example, number 1 and 2, we're going to cut out those 2 areas, right? And then we would see that Jose and Sandra does not. No, Jose and Sandra do not, right? The staff and his administrators is not or is defending. No, they are defending. So again, it'll be easier to spot those errors when you cut out the middle phrases, that fat. And here we have 2 more for you where you can catch that error. Again, I'd rather just show you the tip so that you can apply it when necessary, okay? And so I just want to point out in our last couple minutes, again, you'll be able to choose if you want to hear more about one area in your breakout rooms in a few minutes. But again, we do have some great information. I want to show you starting on page, again, 55 of your workbook. Come on. Oh no, I hate you. Sorry about that. Let me see if I can go to page 55. And no let me. Why you no let me? Oh, that's gonna take forever if I can't do that. Okay, on page 55. Let me see here. All right, we'll go to page 55. You will see you have this complete and incomplete exercise that will help you decide if a sentence is complete or incomplete, because then you can use this information as you look for the CHOP test, okay? And the reason I want to point this out and the transition stuff is that 1, you guys are going to be writing lots of essays, not only for the SAT, but for your teachers and your college applications and scholarships as well. What they love to see is that you vary your sentence structure. So again, even though I have a master's and I've been writing and I get paid to write and create material, in the last couple of years that I've been teaching SAT, This stuff has helped my writing because I'm even more confident and more aware of my sentence structure. And I try to vary my, my sentence structure again, even more so than before. And so this will allow you to go to look at that stop and go, these stop and go principles, which allow you to decide if you have 2 complete sentences, what should I put there? It turns out there's only 5 things that stop 2 complete sentences and only 5 things you can put there. With go, it's when either half is incomplete. Mind you, both halves can't be incomplete, right? You can't have 2 incomplete sentences together. So they can be only a maximum of 1 incomplete sentence, right? So with that, there's only 2 things that can go if either half is incomplete. And so you're gonna see that there are those 2 things for go if either half is incomplete is either a comma or nothing at all. And then of the 5 things that you can put if they are both complete, in which you need a period or some kind of stop so you can take a breath and pause, it'll be these 4 plus, let me give you the 5th one, just in case you don't see it. It is a semicolon, transitional word, comma. Okay, so the 5th one is, it's a period, a colon, semicolon, a semicolon with a transitional word like however, or a comma, fanboy, which is more explained in these next couple pages. So you guys have all of this there to take advantage of. And again, you have the answers to every type of every exercise, like this one here on page 64. You have all those questions at the back of your book. Okay. Lastly, I just wanted to, like I said, point out here, there was only one section if we could get to it. But I wanted to show you again how crucial this transition is. Again, for your essays, it's going to be very important that you use this material. And when it comes to transitions, it helps if you know these 4 categories. So transition words come in 4 categories, including same direction, which talks about, things that that you're adding. Oh, I love to teach SAT. Also, I love to work with the schools, right? In addition, these college programs are amazing, right? Right, you're talking and, right? You're talking about all the same things. Now with contrast, I would say it's something opposite, right? Or a change of direction. So, oh, I love to teach SAT, but, or however. After that, you know what's gonna come. Something I don't like. Ooh, but when I stand up all day, my knees hurt, right? Or sometimes my computer doesn't work and I have issues with my classes, right? So again, you know something different. Also cause and effect, which is gonna be, for example, the students at Al Wooten were studying for the SAT. Therefore, they had better scores, right? So again, that cause and effect, that therefore, that consequently, right? That will tell you why something happened. And last but not least, those time and sequence, which tell you the order or the sequence. And so let me show you just this amazing chart you guys have on page, it should be page, 72. And here you have words, common transition words in each area. Okay. Again, I would really use these to vary your transition words and stuff like that. And I know we're out of time. But I just wanted to show you this last thing before you all go. So again, take advantage of these resources. And again, I use this in my writing and I share it all the time so that people, again, you just mix it up. All righty. Okay. It's definitely breakout time. So thank you so much. And I will see you in the groups.
All right, we are going to break out. We have about 25 minutes in the breakout session, and then I ask that you come all back to the main room to kind of close up things. So invitations are out.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Rebecca. Hey, Miss Rebecca. Somehow I didn't get, I got sent to the same room as Julia.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. So I just,
And I know sometimes there's students that don't transition, like I don't know if they didn't transition.
right. So Miss Naomi wanted you to stay in this main room because we're recording live to YouTube.
Oh, all right, all right.
And so I'm gonna log out and let you do your thing. Is this okay?
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. I was
All
about to
right.
say, yeah, perfect.
Thanks.
All right, so I got a different group. What's up, Dulce, Diana, Ian, Yvette, Daisy, Heidi? You guys have mics that you can unmute? Let me know, let me know. I'd love to know what you guys want to see in this next the next 25 minutes. Would you want to see more reading, writing? Do you want to go look at tests? Do you want to do one of each? We have enough time to basically do one practice of each, one reading passage, one writing passage. What would you guys like to do? Hey, Nicole.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good.
I've been moved to different rooms.
Okay, okay, okay.
Wherever I'm needed.
All right, all right.
Hi, Miss Nicole. This is Rebecca.
Hi.
And I put you in breakout room 2. It said you didn't join. Let me try to have you go again.
Okay. I think it kicked me out.
Okay.
Let me try again. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, have a safe trip. All right, so my students though, Dulce, Diana, Ian, Yvette, Heidi, Daisy, Bryant, talk to me now. What you want to see in these next 25 minutes? Okay, Bryant, thank you for letting us know. Be safe. Have a great rest of your Saturday. If you can, actually, do you mind if I send you, maybe before you go, let me give you this eval and see if you have a chance to fill that out before you go. Okay, Daisy said grammar. So far, my only opinionator.
I'd like to see a little bit of everything, if that's possible.
All right, you got it, all right. So we have 2 different tests to work from. Let's start with 2 since that's the one we didn't look at at all. Let's look at the first set of questions. Oh, you know what I didn't say in the main section is that when it comes to this section, you know how we were talking about you have 48 seconds per question? But it's true, you have 48 seconds per question, but when it comes to per passage, you have 8 minutes and 75 seconds. So you can say, you know how we were talking about a 13-minute drill for the reading passages? It would be about a 9-minute drill for these. And you would have a little gamut. So what do you see? What kind of question types do you see here? Again, as we look for question types, right? So what do you guys think about this? So number one, we have the choice of outdo, defeat, outperform, or outweigh. So this is a word choice, right? Where we have to just pick the most appropriate word that means to outdo or outperform, right? Okay, how about number 5? What is 5? What kind of question is 5? All right, my friends, chat me, talk to me. It's just us in here. There's not that many people. So what kind of question is 5? Let's look at number 5. This is one of those, like we said, sentence, the sentence location, right? Definitely sentence location. So this is what I mean by reading this whole paragraph for sure. This paragraph you need to read. And you see that in this case, they've numbered the sentences at the beginning, right? And they want you to move sentence 5. So that would mean if it is improperly introduced, this acid way runoff can pollute the waterways. So again, you're gonna look for something where they introduce this acid way runoff, or something where they're talking about it affecting the environment, for example. But again, you're gonna take a look at these specifically at this whole one. Now look at number 3 and number 4. These are definitely grammar, right? Number 3 is only apostrophes, and you see number 4 is an and with commas and that. So it's definitely a sentence combination. So number 4 is a sentence combination. Okay. Let's take a look. All right, so I'm going to ask you guys to take a look at this page and do 7, 8, and 9. Do 7, 8, and 9. I'm going to step away for the most briefest moment, but do 7, 8, and 9. Okay, 7, 8, and 9. Sorry about that. Okay, so let me hear your responses for 7, 8, and 9. It's a transition, a verb, and an article. Is also, as, like, or for, oh, excuse me, to be, as, like, or for. So what do you guys think? Let me know what you guys think of these questions. Okay, I got 1 for 7. Okay, so I got a couple B's for 7. All right, how about number 8? How about number 8? What verb do you like? It contains, containing, contains, will contain. Again, with B, C, and D, you lose the it. So do you need the it or no it? Okay, Daisy said no it. We got a couple C's here. We got some, so 8 is C, according to that. All right, how about number 9? What about this transition? Is this an also? So that's the same direction. Is this a therefore, which is a cause and effect? A for instance? In other words, so what do you guys think? What would be most appropriate here? So again, let me know what you think of number 9. What do you think of number 9? So Greek yogurt is slightly lower in sugar and carbohydrates than conventional yogurt is. Blank, because it is more concentrated, Greek yogurt contains slightly more protein, thereby helping people stay satiated. Okie dokie, let me show you. Oh Lord. Thankfully here we can move ahead. So here you go. I want to show you the actual same page. I know we didn't do that main idea, but 7 is B, as you guys had it. 8 is, ooh, 8 is C. Sorry about that. 8 is C, and 9 is actually A. So let's look at the, I know we didn't get to do a lot on transition, right? So the reason B is incorrect is because it's not a restatement. They're not restating. If you were restating something, then you'd say, okay, in other words, I'm saying this again, right? Therefore, we established it wasn't a cause and effect there, right? And for instance, it wasn't an example. So this is just another thing that was good about it, right? So in this case, it was saying that it's lower in sugar and carbohydrates and also more protein, which is different than the sugar and carbs. So a little bit different. Okay. So let's take a look at a couple more pages. So what do you guys think of 10 and 11? Look at 10 and 11. 10 is a word choice. And 11 is this idea of sentence combination. So we can work through, sorry about that, it's a little too large. So do the word choice. So send me your answer for number 10. Again, and this was that they would, you probably can't see it, but if you remember, this was what we just ended with. And so it said that Greek yogurt contains slightly more protein per serving, thereby helping people stay, and they have satiated for longer periods of time, fulfilled, complacent, or sufficient. So will the protein allow them to stay satiated, fulfilled, complacent, or sufficient? What do you guys think? So in this case, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the word satiated or satiety or the word satisfied. So here it's actually A for 10 because it is satiated means to be satisfied and no longer hungry. So that's exactly, some of us eat beyond satiation and we eat, then we're like, oh my God, I'm so full, oh my God. So yes, so this one is A. But I want to take a look at 11, okay? So I want to, let's try to do this, the chop test, okay? I want to show you what the chop test would be like. So with the chop test, you're going to look at where they chopped a sentence and you see that it's between it and farmers, right? So we're going to go right here. This is where the chop point is, okay? So we're going to look at this first sentence. Because consumers reap the nutritional benefits of Greek yogurt and support those who make and sell it. So is that complete or incomplete? Because consumers reap the nutritional benefits of this, so is that complete or incomplete? Can you begin a sentence with because? So again, is this first one incomplete? Thank you. So yes, Diana, it is incomplete. You cannot start it with because and have it be complete, right? In that phrase. Okay, so this first one is incomplete, right? Which means, guys, we know this second one is complete. It has to be, right? It has to be complete or else it won't work. But that also tells us that it's go, right? Go punctuation. So it can either be a comma or nothing at all, no punctuation at all. So when you have the incomplete phrase at the beginning, you always need a comma, right? To do whatever, in order to complete the assessment, comma, she stayed on the computer for hours, right? Or whatever. But In order to complete the assessment is not by itself. We couldn't leave that, right? In order to complete the assessment, that's not a complete phrase, right? So in this case, right now, we see that there's a comma, right? So do we need this comma or should it be a colon? Can it be a colon if it's go? Right, yeah, so it can't be D because a colon is not go. So it can only be A, B, or C. Now, what it means is that we need a complete phrase afterwards, right? So if we said, because who make it and sell it, farmers and businesses should continue finding safe methods. So farmers, because this is the fanboy, or therefore farmers. So do we need this therefore or this so? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? If this is a go, what do we need? Which one is appropriate? Let me show you here. It is definitely B. Okay. B is the only one that's appropriate because this so and therefore would make it stop, and so is this colon would make it stop, right? Because that this therefore and this so. So the only one that's appropriate is B. You have the incomplete phrase at the beginning, and then farmers and businesses should continue finding safe. So what are you guys thinking? You guys have been kind of quiet. Ooh. What do you guys think about this one? Let's do 12. This is the graph. Which choice most accurately and effectively represents the information in the graph? So this says that, let's see, the size of the ice sheet fluctuates seasonally. In summer, average daily temperatures in Greenland can rise to slightly above 50 degrees, partially melting the ice. In winter, it thickens, and the average daily low temperature can drop to as low as 20 degrees, or is it to 12 degrees, or to their lowest point on 13? So they're looking, so they're looking in winter, right? So let's go look at this chart in winter. So here we have the average low temperature, right? Isn't that what we're looking for? In winter, the snow thickens and the average low temperatures. So what is accurate about these low temperatures? So this dark bar. Does it reach its maximum on December 13th? Does it reach its lowest point at 12? What were some of the other options? Does it fall to as low as 20? Or that's the average high, right? That's the average high. So which one of these are incorrect? We already took C out and A. A and C are out. What do you guys think of D? Do they drop to 10 degrees and stay there for months? Does it drop to 10 degrees and stay there for months? No. So what's accurate? What's the correct answer here for number 12? B. Yes, excellent. And again, we haven't even read this chapter, and we don't need to. Ooh, okay. So look, 13 and 14. Here we have in our last couple minutes, because we're about to get pulled back. But look, 13 and 14, we have a transition, and here we have a sentence combination. So again, for 13, typically the ice sheet begins to show evidence of thawing in late summer. This is our chop point. Is it complete or incomplete? Typically the ice sheet begins to show evidence of thawing in late summer. Sorry about that. Is this complete or incomplete? I got a couple different answers. So typically the ice sheet begins to show evidence of thawing in late summer. This is complete, guys. It's complete. It's not missing anything. The ice sheet, what did it do? It showed evidence of what? Of thawing in late summer. That's complete. Okay, how about 2? How about the next sentence? This follows several weeks of higher temperatures. Also complete, right? So basically, we need a comma fanboy, like the and, or we need this following, right? So can we make it incomplete by making this ing verb following several weeks of summer? And if you look, I know we didn't get to look at the sentence combination as much, but it turns out, and we already did that one, that it is A, because by using the ing verb, you can take out this follows, make it incomplete, and now make it go. These are very wordy. They're not concise at all. So sometimes they want you to show concision by removing words. And when it came to the transition, I know we didn't quite get to look at it as much, but here we have this follows several weeks of higher temperatures. For example, in summer, it turns out it should be however, because it changed direction. Because in 2012, they're talking about how, it melted way earlier than expected because there was so much hotter temperatures than normal. So everything melted way earlier. So they're talking about a different circumstance. So that would be B. Okie dokie. All right, I know we're about to get pulled. So let's see, because we should have everybody coming back by now. Are they, they're coming back? They're right, Miss Rebecca?
Yes, Miss Vanessa, they're going to be coming back. I gave them their minute warning, so the rooms are going to close here in 45 seconds, and then we'll.
We have the easy part.
Yeah.
We get to stay put. We didn't have to go nowhere.
I know you guys got that easy part.
We didn't have to move. So
I
yeah,
got
how
to
do
learn.
you guys feel about again going over a couple more question examples, seeing how they think? Please just see this as the beginning. Spend some time on Khan Academy, my friends. Believe me, that self-investment will be so valuable. Again, it'll just pay itself forward in your future, for sure. And again, take a look at those transition and sentence combination lessons, because again, it can really improve your writing. Again, if you take a look at it a little bit more, but hopefully you guys feel a little bit better armed with strategies for the reading section, the writing section, and you got a little leg up on the math. So let's see. I know we have an eval for you guys to fill out based on our day today.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us today for our SAT prep workshop. And thank you to our partners, Study Smart, Miss Vanessa, Miss Julie, Mr. Ryan, and thank you for Miss Nicole for joining us during our second half, Mr. Casey as always, and to Mr. Eric Moore of Educate California. The video is going to be available for review on our YouTube page, which is Wooten Center. And our next free workshop is going to be held in the spring. We'll notify you by e-news if you'd like to take it again. Next time we'll have a little bit more time in the study groups. We're kind of navigating how that's going to work. So we'll give you a little bit more time to really dig deeper into the content. Another note that that the Wooten Center wants to share with you all is Community Build has 70 jobs to work at home on the census open to ages 16 and up. So if you want to send your resumes to hiring, I'm going to stick it in the chat box too. hiring@communitybuild.com, or excuse me, .org. Communitybuild.org. Yeah, send them an email and let them know that you're interested. We're going to have a weekly teen talk discussion group that our kids tend to love. So please feel free to join us and register for the teen talk and other after school activities at thewootencenter.org online. And do you have anything else to add, Miss Vanessa, before we close it up?
Just that you guys are super, super awesome for being here the whole time. And again, thank you for sticking with us. I hope you definitely found something valuable. I know it was definitely great for us to be with all you amazing kids today. And again, I really appreciate your time. And do it, because there's money out there for you, baby. There's money out there. Let somebody else pay for it. Put a little work in. Put a little work in. Go to that Khan Academy. Or SAT Daily Practice app. It'll, on your phone, you can put an app. It'll send you one question a day based on your PSAT and other scores. So for sure. Oh, Community Build.
Yes, yes. So it's hiring at Community Build, not building.org. And if that is all, thank you all for joining us, sticking out for such a long Saturday, learning about SAT and all these great tips and tools and techniques. And with that, have a great weekend.
Oh, Jasleen, Brianna, Kyle, thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. Have a great weekend. Mignon, Diana, Sonora, everybody, Navarre, Sanaya, thank you guys so much. Have a great year. See you soon.
Thank you all. That was great.
Your kids are so awesome. Look at
They're
how much
really
they came
awesome.
on a
They're very
Saturday. Oh
involved.
my gosh, and stayed all day. And you guys had that interim session, which was great too. So for sure.
It was a full
yay.
day for sure.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Sorry about those early problems in the beginning.
Hey, it happens.
Rebecca. I'm
It
glad
happens.
we got that
Yeah.
resolved, and awesome. We'll see you soon.
Be well, be safe.
Bye, Ryan. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much. Bye.